As the long day slowly comes to a close and the outer world grows quieter, you may still be carrying thoughts that have not yet come to rest. The body is tired, yet the mind continues to wander, moving through memories, worries, and unanswered questions. If you are here, perhaps you are not searching for answers, but simply for a place that feels safe enough to rest. Welcome to Stories for Sleep, a YouTube channel created especially for moments like this. Here, there is no rushing, no noise, and no demand that you concentrate or remember anything. The stories on this channel revolve around the most gentle truths of the subconscious, told in a slow, soothing voice, inspired by the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, who saw the subconscious as a deep inner world, quietly caring for the human being, especially when night falls. In this video, you will be guided step by step into that world, not to understand more, but to let go, not to control sleep, but to allow it to arrive on its own. If you find these quiet moments helpful, consider subscribing to Stories for Sleep and turning on notifications so that each night there is always a place waiting for you, a place where all you need to do is listen and sleep. Under the gentle evening light, as the outside world gradually settles, you may notice that your mind still refuses to rest. Small, scattered thoughts continue to drift by. Vague emotions remain unnamed. The body is tired, yet sleep feels far away. If you have ever wondered why falling asleep is difficult even when there is nothing left to do, the answer may not lie in consciousness, but in the subconscious, a place that has never truly been asleep. This video was created for that exact moment. Not to teach you how to fall asleep faster and not to ask you to control your mind. Instead, it is a very gentle invitation to release effort and allow another part of you to take over. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the deeper layer of the mind, the subconscious is where the most fundamental processes of inner life occur. Consciousness is only the bright surface. Beneath it lies a vast, quiet ocean, where memories, emotions, instincts, and dreams continue their work in silence. Our difficulty is rarely a lack of control, but too much control. We are accustomed to thinking, analyzing, questioning, even when the body is ready to rest. When consciousness refuses to step away, sleep struggles to find its way back. The subconscious, which was designed to guard life through the night, needs a quiet inner space to do its work. And that space appears only when we allow ourselves not to understand everything right now. In the journey ahead, you will encounter gentle truths about the subconscious, how it governs much of your life without words, how it stores emotional memory, how it sends messages through the body, intuition, and dreams. These are not facts to memorize, but insights to drift through. Each part is like a soft wave carrying you deeper, not into knowledge, but into a sense of inner safety. The value of this video is not in how much you learn, but in how much lighter you feel with each passing minute. When you realize that your subconscious is still caring for you, even while you sleep, the pressure to do something slowly dissolves. And when that pressure fades, sleep can arrive naturally. So right now, you do not need to focus, you do not need to remember, simply listen. Let this voice be a soft, guiding thread, leading you into the world beneath consciousness, a place where you do not have to make an effort to rest, because rest has always been there waiting for your permission. Part 1. Introduction. The world beneath consciousness. Night descends, and the outer world grows still. Many people encounter a familiar paradox. The body is tired, yet the mind refuses to rest. Small thoughts appear without warning. Old images drift by like smoke. Vague emotions with no clear origin slip into the silence, and we wonder why sleep feels so difficult, when in truth, there is a part of us that has never truly slept at all. That part is the subconscious. The subconscious does not sleep. It has never slept. Even when your eyes are closed, even when consciousness begins to withdraw, the subconscious continues its quiet work, steady, persistent, without light or attention. It is like an underground world beneath the surface of consciousness, where movement is slower, deeper, and needs no explanation. Consciousness is like daytime, bright, limited, able to handle only a few things at once. The subconscious is like the long night, vast and encompassing, where millions of signals are received, sorted, and stored without your awareness. When you breathe without thinking, when your heart beats in rhythm, when your body adjusts its position in sleep, when a feeling of anxiety appears before you, understand why. All of this is the work of the subconscious. From Carl Jung's perspective, the subconscious is not something hidden in a negative sense, but the foundation of the entire psychological life. It stores memory not in words, but in sensations. It does not remember events by time, but by emotional impact. A small experience charged with feeling may leave a deeper mark than hundreds of other events. And these impressions quietly shape how you respond to the world, how safe or unsafe you feel, how you dream and how you live. The modern human problem is not a lack of control, but too much of it. We continue to think, analyze, and judge even when night has fallen and the body needs rest. We try to sleep. We try to relax. We try to stop thinking. But the subconscious does not respond to commands. It does not work well under pressure. It functions fully only when it is allowed. Sleep does not come from effort. Sleep comes from letting go. So from this very introduction, you are not being asked to understand anything. You do not need to remember concepts. You do not need to follow an argument. You do not need to do this correctly. This is not a lesson. It is a journey of release, where you are gently invited into the world beneath consciousness, slowly, softly. Imagine the subconscious as a deep ocean. On the surface are small waves of thoughts, worries, and plans. But the deeper you go, the calmer the water becomes. The movements there are quiet, yet immensely powerful. Those hidden currents determine the direction of the entire ocean, just as the subconscious quietly determines much of your life. In that world, nothing needs to be logical. Dreams may be illogical. Emotions may have no clear cause. The subconscious does not seek logic. It seeks safety. In its own way, it is constantly asking, am I safe? What needs to be remembered? What must not be repeated? And when night falls, when consciousness grows tired and begins to let go, the subconscious takes over the watch. It organizes memory. It soothes unprocessed emotions. It weaves fragments into dreams. It continues its work, just as it has throughout your entire life, long before you could name it. What matters is this: you do not need to help it. Tonight, you do not need to heal. You do not need to revisit childhood. You do not need to change beliefs. All of that can come another time. Right now, the only invitation is to stop trying, stop understanding, stop controlling, and allow a very ancient, very intelligent part within you to continue its work. If your thoughts drift while listening, that is perfectly fine. If you do not remember what was just said, that is even better. This is not meant for your consciousness. It is meant for your subconscious, and the subconscious does not need words to remember. Let your eyelids grow heavy. Let your breath slow. Let consciousness rest like the sun setting after a long day. Beneath it, that hidden world remains awake, watching, caring, keeping you safe. From here, we will continue the journey very slowly, moving deeper into gentle truths about the subconscious, not to awaken you, but to guide you closer to sleep little by little. And perhaps what makes the subconscious so trustworthy is precisely that it does not demand your attention. It does not need your belief. It does not need your understanding. It does not need your memory. It has been there for a very long time, longer than language, longer than the thoughts in your mind. Before you learned to name emotions, the subconscious already knew how to respond. Before you understood anxiety or safety, it had already recorded what tensed you and what calmed you. From Carl Jung's view, the subconscious is not merely a storage space, but a living presence that constantly seeks balance. It is not perfect. It may overreact. It may hold on to old memories that are no longer needed. Yet even then, its deepest purpose remains the same: to protect life. That is why the subconscious dislikes being forced. The more you try to make yourself sleep, the more alert it becomes, not because it opposes you, but because it does not understand commands the way consciousness does. For the subconscious, safety does not come from the words "calm down," but from repeated experiences of ease, slow breathing, gentle light, and the absence of demands. If you feel yourself drifting, listening without grasping every word, that is very good. It means consciousness is stepping back, and the subconscious is stepping forward. This is not a moment to hold on. It is a moment to be held. Notice how your body feels now. Perhaps your shoulders have lowered slightly. Perhaps your breath is longer. Perhaps your thoughts are no longer as sharp. This is not distraction. It is a shift of responsibility. Consciousness has done enough for today. The rest the subconscious will handle. And in the minutes that follow, we will not try to move faster. We will not go deeper through effort. We will simply continue at the natural rhythm of the subconscious, slow, steady, so that you do not have to sleep, but only no longer need to stay awake. From here, as you draw closer to the world beneath consciousness, a gentle truth begins to appear. Most of your life is still functioning well, even when you are not paying attention. And it is this not control that truly allows you to rest. Part 2. The 95% ratio. Who is really running your life? There is a number that often makes people pause the first time they hear it. Only about 5% of the mind's activity is conscious. The remaining 95% lies outside the bright field of deliberate thought. It is not a dark or frightening place. It is simply a region that does not require light in order to function. This number is not meant to take control away from you. On the contrary, it invites you to look at your life with more gentleness. Because if 95% of what sustains you is already operating without your constant thinking, then perhaps you do not need to hold yourself so tightly all the time. Right now, as you are listening to these words, your heart is beating steadily. Your lungs are adjusting your breathing on their own. Your stomach continues to digest. Your body makes countless small adjustments so that you do not become uncomfortable. You do not need to command any of this. No reminders, no supervision. The subconscious is already there, working without rest. Consciousness, the 5%, is like someone standing on the deck of a ship, seeing the surface of the water and the sky above, and believing they are steering the entire ocean. Beneath that deck, however, exists an immense system of currents, pressure living creatures, and ancient rhythms that the person above can never fully see. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the greatest mistake of modern humanity is not underestimating consciousness, but overestimating its role. Jung saw consciousness as a flashlight, illuminating a very narrow area, while the totality of the human psyche is a vast landscape governed by deeper, slower, and more enduring laws. The subconscious does not only keep the body alive, it also shapes how you experience the world. A small sound can make you flinch before you know what it is. A glance can make you feel at ease or uneasy without a clear reason. A room can make you want to stay longer simply because your subconscious senses safety in the way the light falls. Consciousness usually arrives afterward. It explains. It tells the story. It says, "I chose, I decided, I feel." Yet very often the decision has already been prepared in that 95%, where language is not used, where reasoning is unnecessary, and where patterns formed through lived experience quietly guide the outcome. This does not mean you lack freedom. It simply means that human freedom does not lie in controlling everything, but in understanding that you are being supported by a system larger than the conscious self. A system that has learned from millions of moments of living, constantly adjusting so that you can continue to exist. The subconscious is like a silent gatekeeper. It does not ask for permission each time it acts. It prioritizes safety over precision, speed over analysis, and for that reason it sometimes reacts too strongly. Yet even in those reactions, its deeper purpose remains the same: to keep you alive, intact, and protected. When you understand this, a great pressure can begin to dissolve. The pressure to always be alert, always in control, always thinking correctly. Because the truth is, most of your life continues to function smoothly, even when you are not intervening. And this becomes especially important at night. Sleep does not require you to resolve everything from the day. It only asks that consciousness step away from the command post. When you stop monitoring, stop controlling, stop checking whether you have fallen asleep, yet the subconscious naturally steps in to do what it has always done every night throughout your entire life. If right now your thoughts feel slower, if you cannot remember every sentence clearly, if you feel as though you are gently drifting somewhere, that is not a lack of focus. That is the 95% beginning to speak, and you do not need to answer. Let consciousness rest. Let the surface of the ocean grow still. Beneath it, that vast system continues to function, rhythmic, patient, intelligent enough to carry you into sleep, even when you do nothing at all. And as the idea of the 95% settles quietly in your mind, you may begin to feel a strange sense of reassurance. Not because you understand more, but because you no longer have to carry responsibility for everything happening within you. A very large part of you has been working all along, silently, devotedly, without asking for recognition. The subconscious does not need your trust. It has been active since long before you knew what trust or doubt meant. When you were a child without language, the subconscious already knew how to distinguish familiar voices from unfamiliar ones. Before you could name emotions, it already knew what caused the body to tense and what allowed it to relax. Over time, that system continued to expand, refine, and learn, not through theory, but through repeated lived experience. From Carl Jung's perspective, consciousness often takes credit for decisions that were already prepared in the unconscious. Consciousness tells the story: I chose, I thought it through, I decided. But Jung believed the deeper role of consciousness was not to control, but to witness, to recognize what is happening within, rather than trying to manufacture it. When you view life from this angle, much tension can dissolve. You do not need to control every emotion. You do not need to immediately understand why you feel sad, anxious, or tired. Some things appear not to be explained, but to be allowed to pass through. The subconscious is accustomed to handling what is unclear. It is not afraid of ambiguity. It only needs time, and time is what the night generously gives you. When consciousness grows tired and no longer has the energy to sustain attention, the subconscious steps forward naturally, without announcement, without ceremony. It simply continues the work that has never stopped. It soothes the nervous system. It reorganizes the day's impressions. It adjusts survival responses so the body can enter a state of restoration. You do not need to believe that this is happening. You only need not to interfere. If right now your body feels slightly heavier, if your breath deepens on its own, if your thoughts begin to fragment, no longer forming clear chains, this is not loss of control. It is a return to your natural ratio. The 5% of consciousness has done enough for today. The remaining 95% is ready to take over. And when you allow this handover to occur, you are not only moving closer to sleep, you are also learning something very gentle. Life does not require you to strain continuously in order to function. There are parts of you that are stronger, more patient, and intelligent in a very quiet way. Right now, you do not need to understand anything more. You do not need to follow the structure of the story. You do not need to remember which part you are in. Everything necessary has already been entrusted to the place best suited for it. Consciousness may rest. The subconscious is at work. And from this deep foundation, we will gently move into the next part, where you may begin to notice that many decisions in your life were prepared long before you ever named them. But that is a story for later. For now, you only need to remain here, within the quiet support of the 95% that is watching over you. Part 3. Decisions made before you know. There is a very grown, small moment, almost impossible to grasp, that occurs just before you believe you have made a decision. This moment has no words, no clear thought, no organized reason. It is simply a subtle inner movement, like water beginning to change direction before you can see the wave. Many studies of the brain suggest that before you feel you have chosen, your brain has already been quietly preparing that decision seconds in advance. Neural signals have been activated, options have been weighed without language, and once everything is ready, consciousness steps in like a light turning on after the room has already been arranged. This is not meant to unsettle you. On the contrary, it invites you to view the role of consciousness with greater gentleness. Because if consciousness is not always the first to decide, then perhaps you do not need to carry the burden of every choice alone. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, consciousness is not the supreme commander of the mind, but more like a storyteller. It arrives afterward, observes what has already happened, and weaves it into a coherent narrative. I chose for this reason. I did that because I thought this. These stories help you understand yourself, communicate with the world, and build identity. But they are not always the origin of action. The subconscious, the larger domain, acts first. It compares the present situation with thousands of stored patterns. It senses familiarity or threat. It evaluates safety. And very often a decision is already formed before you can name it as one. Think of ordinary moments. You enter a room and immediately feel at ease before you have time to look around. You meet someone and feel trust or caution without knowing why. You choose a familiar route home even though other paths exist. These choices do not require thought. They arise like reflexes, not randomly, but as the result of a deep processing system that has been working for a very long time. This does not mean your free will disappears. It simply means free will is not located where you once believed. Freedom does not lie in issuing commands, but in the capacity to notice, adjust, and learn over time. Consciousness does not create every decision, but it can observe them, understand them, and gradually influence how the subconscious forms new patterns. Jung believed psychological maturity was not about absolute control, but about creating a harmonious relationship between consciousness and the unconscious. When consciousness tries to dominate the unconscious, resists through confusing emotions, recurring dreams, and unwanted behaviors. But when consciousness learns to listen, the unconscious becomes a profound source of guidance. In the context of sleep, this carries a very gentle meaning. Many people struggle to sleep because they try to decide to sleep. But sleep is not a decision that can be issued. It is a state that emerges when conditions are sufficient. And those conditions are constantly assessed by the subconscious safety, biological rhythm, bodily relaxation, the lowering of vigilance. When you lie down and begin to wonder, am I asleep, yet consciousness is trying to take command. But when you release that question, when you allow yourself not to know where you are between waking and sleeping, the subconscious naturally guides the rest of the process. The decision to sleep does not need to be declared. It only needs not to be blocked. If right now your thoughts feel less sharp, if you listen without holding on to each word, if you sense that things are happening before you can understand them, this is not a loss of autonomy. It is being exactly where sleep usually begins. Consciousness can continue telling stories tomorrow. Tonight it may rest, because beneath it there is a system that has long been accustomed to making decisions quietly, unhurriedly, without supervision. And when you allow yourself to trust that rhythm, you not only move closer to sleep, but also touch a very calm truth you do not always need to know in order to be safe. From this foundation, we will continue deeper, where you may begin to realize that the subconscious not only decides for you, but also cares for you, even when you are unaware. But that is a story for later. And as you remain for a moment with the idea that many decisions were prepared before you knew them, a very light feeling may arise, not loss, but relief. Because if not every choice requires your constant supervision, then perhaps you do not need to strain through every moment of your life as you have been doing. Consciousness is accustomed to the role of the one responsible. It believes that without constant monitoring, everything will fall apart. But the subconscious does not operate through worry. It operates through accumulated experience, every situation you have lived through, every moment of safety, every moment of harm. All of it is compressed into subtle patterns, allowing the subconscious to recognize new situations faster than any thought. That is why many decisions in your life do not arrive as questions, but as readiness. A step to the left instead of the right. A word held back instead of spoken. A familiar choice appearing before you can list the options. Consciousness arrives later and says, I chose. But in truth, that choice had been ripening for a long time in the wordless realm. This becomes especially clear when you are tired. When conscious energy fades, you notice that you no longer have the strength to decide everything. And strangely, life continues anyway. You still know how to brush your teeth. You still know how to find your way home. You still know how to lie down and pull the blanket over yourself. These actions require no thought, yet they are accurate, sufficient, and safe. Night is when this truth becomes most visible. As night falls, consciousness naturally weakens. Analysis slows. Logical boundaries soften. And if you do not resist this process, the subconscious will take over on its own. It does not ask if you are ready. It checks only one thing: whether the environment is safe enough to release vigilance. If it is safe, sleep will come. If it is not, it will keep you in a light drifting alertness until conditions are right. This is why sleep cannot be commanded. You cannot decide to sleep the way you decide to turn on a light. You can only create the conditions and allow the decision to occur deeper where you do not need to participate. In Jungian psychology, maturity does not lie in expanding the power of consciousness, but in understanding its proper place. Consciousness is not the absolute commander, but a dialogue partner. When it learns to listen to the subconscious, rather than compete for control, inner life becomes more harmonious. And in that harmony, both waking life and sleeping life grow lighter. If right now you find yourself no longer following the narrative closely, if you are unsure which sentence you just heard, if you feel as though you are floating between two states, this is not loss of control. It is consciousness withdrawing at the right time. And when consciousness withdraws, it does not disappear. It simply rests. Tomorrow it will return to tell the necessary stories. But tonight, it can allow the rest of you, the part that knows how to make survival decisions, to continue working. You do not need to decide to sleep. You do not need to know whether you are asleep yet. Just remain still in this moment. Simply do not interfere with the flow already unfolding. Because the smallest decision of tonight, the decision to let go, may have been made long ago. Part 4. The subconscious never sleeps. When you drift into sleep, there is something very important that is rarely spoken of. You do not switch off. Only consciousness rests. The rest, the deeper, older, more patient part, continues to work. The subconscious never sleeps. It simply changes rhythm, changes role, and steps into its familiar night shift. During the day, consciousness acts like a coordinator of light. It chooses what to attend to and what to ignore. It expends energy, thinking, deciding, controlling. And when night arrives, as that energy gradually runs low, consciousness lets go naturally. Not because it has failed, but because it is time for another system to take over. In the gentle darkness of sleep, the subconscious begins its work. It does not operate by lists, plans, or sequences you can name. Yet it is precise. It reorganizes memory not by dates but by emotion. Unfinished experiences are brought forward. What matters is reinforced. What is no longer needed is softly blurred. Sleep, therefore, is not emptiness. It is a space for deep processing. When you learn something new, practice a skill or experience strong emotion, the subconscious needs the night to complete its work. Neural connections are strengthened. Reflexes are refined. Emotions are repositioned so they cause less disturbance. You do not need to participate in this process. You only need to sleep. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, sleep and dreams are natural doorways into the unconscious. Jung believed that when consciousness withdraws, the unconscious not only emerges but actively self-regulates to keep the psyche in balance. dreams do not appear randomly. They are the subconscious, continuing its dialogue, continuing its work, continuing its healing in its own symbolic language. And even when you do not remember any dreams, that work still happens. You may wake feeling lighter without knowing why, or sometimes heavier because certain deeper matters need more time. The subconscious does not rush. It does not follow your schedule. It is concerned only with long-term sustainability. Your body is part of this process as well. While you sleep, heart rhythms are adjusted. The immune system becomes more active. Hormones are rebalanced. Small damages from the day are repaired. None of these decisions require consciousness. They happen most accurately when consciousness does not interfere. So when you struggle to sleep, the problem is usually not the subconscious. It is ready to work. The issue is that consciousness has not yet stepped aside. It is still watching, still thinking, still checking whether you have fallen asleep. And that monitoring keeps the body in a state of light alertness, just enough to prevent deep rest. Sleep does not need effort. It only needs you not to interfere. If right now your thoughts feel fragmented, if you can no longer remember which part you are listening to, if time seems to slow down, this is not a loss of focus. It is the subconscious beginning its night shift. You do not need to help it. You do not need to understand what it is doing. You only need to allow yourself to remain in this state where things unfold without commands. Consciousness may rest. The subconscious is at work, and as you gradually drift into sleep, that deep system continues to organize, reinforce, and care for you, just as it has throughout your entire life, long before you were aware of its existence. From here, as the night deepens, we will continue exploring automatic loops, habits, and reflexes guarded by the subconscious, not to control them, but to understand that they are trying to help you survive in their own way. Perhaps the most comforting part of knowing that the subconscious never sleeps is that you no longer need to carry the feeling of being abandoned when consciousness turns off. On the contrary, this is when you are cared for most attentively. When you stop tracking every thought and monitoring every sensation, the subconscious begins work that daytime never fully allows. Daytime is too loud, too many signals, too many choices. The subconscious must prioritize quick reactions to keep you safe in a constantly changing environment. But at night, when stimulation fades, when light softens, when the body lies still, the subconscious has space to return to what remains unresolved, not to burden you further, but to lighten tomorrow. Unneeded memories are softened like old photographs fading with time. Skills you are learning are reinforced so you perform better tomorrow without extra effort. Emotions you have not yet named are placed where they will not spill over unexpectedly. This is not magic. It is continuous care. If you have ever woken to find yesterday's problem feeling lighter, or an idea suddenly clearer, it is very likely the result of this night shift. The subconscious does not seek praise. It does not report progress. It simply completes what needs to be done, then steps back when you awaken, allowing consciousness to resume its role. In Jung's view, sleep is not a passive state, but a phase of deep psychological self-regulation. When consciousness rests, the unconscious not only becomes more active, but gains the chance to rebalance extremes that tilted during the day. What was compressed, confined expression through dreams, or through an unnameable sense of ease upon waking. What matters is this: you do not need to remember what happened during the night. You do not need to decode dreams. You do not need to analyze what the subconscious did. Your task, if it can be called a task, is simply to allow sleep to occur. The rest is handled by a very old, very intelligent system. If you find yourself at the border between waking and sleeping, if you hear without following the sentences clearly, if time begins to feel indistinct, this is not loss. It is entering the space where the subconscious works best. There is no effort here, no goal, no progress to achieve, only the gentle presence of the body and the gradual absence of consciousness. You do not need to sleep correctly. You cannot sleep incorrectly. Sleep is not a skill to perfect, but a natural state that emerges when interference fades. And even if tonight your sleep is not as deep as you wish, the subconscious is still working. It does not abandon its shift. It does not blame you. It continues steadily, like the heart beating when you do not notice, like breath moving in and out without thought. You do not need to worry that you are doing something wrong. You do not need to push your body to rest. Just remain here a little longer, in the gentle darkness, in the quiet support of a part that has never slept. And from this calm foundation, while dawn is still far away, the subconscious continues, preparing habits, reflexes, automatic loops, so that tomorrow you may live on just a little lighter without knowing why. For now, let the night shift continue. You have done enough for today. Part 5. Habits, behavior and automatic loops. There is something very gentle and often misunderstood about the subconscious. It loves repetition. Not because it is lazy, but because it was designed to save energy for you. Each time a behavior is repeated often enough, the subconscious quietly removes it from conscious effort and stores it among things that require no thinking. From then on, you perform them naturally, almost without noticing. You brush your teeth without focus. You walk a familiar path without recalling each turn. You respond in familiar ways to familiar situations. This is not lack of awareness. It is how the subconscious protects you from exhaustion. If every small action required thought, you would have no energy left for what is truly new. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, habits are not merely behaviors, but expressions of deep psychological patterns. Jung believed the unconscious constantly seeks inner stability through known pathways. Each familiar loop is like a trail in the forest. The more it is walked, the clearer it becomes. The clearer it becomes, the easier it is to follow. And the easier it is, the less reason there is to take another path. This is why habits are both a gift and a challenge. A gift because you do not have to think constantly to live. A challenge because when a habit is no longer suitable, it does not disappear on its own. The subconscious does not change simply because you understand a behavior is not good. It is not persuaded by reasoning. It learns only through repeated experience. If a behavior once helped you feel safe, soothed, or avoided discomfort, the subconscious will store it as a solution, even if later that solution begins to cause problems. This is why many people feel stuck when trying to change habits. They believe they lack willpower. But the issue is not willpower, it is a trail that has become too familiar. Consciousness may want to turn toward a new direction, but the subconscious guides you along the old one simply because it learned that path was safe enough. To change a habit, you cannot erase the old trail by command. That trail exists because it was once necessary. What you can do, and this is the only language the subconscious understands, is create a new trail, not through force, but through very gentle, very patient repetition. A different choice, repeated often enough in a sufficiently safe context, will gradually be recorded by the subconscious. At first, it may feel unfamiliar, effortful, even uncomfortable. But if the experience brings no harm, no threat, the subconscious begins to compare. And as the new path becomes more familiar, the old one is used less without struggle. This is especially important when it comes to sleep. Many bedtime habits, holding the phone, thinking about tomorrow, checking whether you are asleep, are automatic loops. They did not arise to make things harder for you. They appeared because at some point they helped you cope with uncertainty, and the subconscious remembered. If you blame yourself for these habits, the subconscious becomes more vigilant. But if you understand that they are simply old loops trying to protect you, tension softens. And when tension softens, space for a new path appears. A new path can be very small, softer light, slower breathing. The habit of listening to a gentle voice before sleep. It does not need to be perfect. It does not need to work immediately. It only needs to be repeated often enough in safety. The subconscious does not need speed. It needs consistency. And once it learns that the new path is not dangerous, it will automatically transfer the behavior just as it has done with every other habit in your life. If right now you listen without trying to remember, if you feel yourself drifting with the voice, if you are unsure what you will recall in the morning, this is not missing something. It is the subconscious learning in its own way. Because the most important loops are not formed through thinking, but through repeated experience in calm. And right now you are giving the subconscious such an experience. From here, we will continue deeper into how the subconscious processes immense amounts of information beyond consciousness, where you may realize that much more is being cared for than you ever imagined. And as you remain a little longer with the idea of automatic loops, you may begin to view your habits differently, not as things to fix, but as traces of adaptation. Each habit appeared at a time when you needed it. The subconscious remembered, not because it was perfect, but because it helped you through something. The subconscious does not judge habits as good or bad. It classifies them as familiar or unfamiliar, safe or not yet safe. That is why when you try to change too quickly or forcefully, it responds not with logic, but by returning to the old path, not to oppose you, but to prevent instability. If you have ever wondered why you know better yet still follow an old habit, the answer is not weakness. It is this: the subconscious learns more slowly than consciousness, but remembers far longer. Consciousness can understand in a moment. The subconscious needs many nights, many repetitions, many consecutive safe experiences to accept that a new path can be trusted. Jung emphasized that the unconscious is not persuaded by words, but by lived experience. A new habit becomes automatic only when it no longer triggers vigilance, when the body relaxes, when breath remains steady, when the sense of having to try fades. Only then does the subconscious store the new trail. And this happens very naturally during sleep. Sleep is the environment where loops are reinforced or softened. What is repeated before sleep often leaves a deeper imprint, not because it matters more, but because the subconscious is ready to receive. When consciousness is quieter, everything sinks a little deeper. If before sleep you repeat tension, the subconscious records that as how the day ends. If before sleep you allow yourself to slow down, listen to a gentle voice, breathe evenly, the subconscious records that too as a safe ending. Over time, these small endings form larger loops. You do not need great effort to create new habits. You only need to repeat safety. Not perfectly, not absolutely consistently, just enough for the subconscious to recognize there is no danger here. If right now, you can no longer tell what is old or new, if you are unsure which part you are in, if the feeling of having to keep up has dissolved, this is the moment when a new loop begins to form, quietly, without announcement, just a very small path being walked once more. And like every other path in your life, it will grow clearer over time if you do not force it to appear all at once. You do not need to change yourself tonight. You do not need to break old habits. Just give the subconscious one more peaceful experience, one more night without pressure, one more time of sleeping without effort. Because the deepest loops are not formed in tension, but in very gentle repetition. And right now, as you listen in this soft, drifting state, the subconscious is learning, as it always has, that rest is safe. From this foundation, we will continue deeper into the difference between the narrow field of consciousness and the vast space of the subconscious, where you may discover that much is still being processed, even when you are not paying attention. But that is a story for later. For now, let this loop close gently, and if sleep comes, let it come like an old path, familiar, quiet, and without thought. Part 6. Narrow consciousness, vast subconscious. There is a very gentle, yet very important truth that people often realize only when they become tired. Our consciousness is narrow. It is like a small beam of light, able to illuminate only a tiny portion of the world at any given moment. When consciousness focuses on one thing, it must temporarily ignore another. When you think about a sentence, you cannot simultaneously take in every sound around you. When your attention is fixed on a screen, you almost forget the feeling of your feet touching the ground. Consciousness is not weak. It is simply designed to select. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, consciousness is the center of personal experience, but it is not the whole of the mind. It is like a viewpoint essential for orientation, communication, and deliberate decision-making, yet not wide enough to hold everything that is happening at once. And that is precisely why the subconscious exists. The subconscious does not illuminate individual details. It expands the space. While consciousness can process only a few signals at a time, the subconscious continuously receives millions of inputs. Simultaneously, the wind outside the window, subtle changes in room temperature, the position of each muscle, the rhythm of breathing, the heartbeat, the distance between you and the objects around you. You do not think about these things. You feel them. The subconscious does not say, "There is a sound far away." It simply adjusts your level of alertness. The subconscious does not say, "The body is tired." It gently prompts you to shift position. If consciousness is like a flashlight, then the subconscious is the entire stage. The flashlight highlights one character, one detail, one storyline at a time. The stage holds everything: background, light, empty space, subtle movements, things not in the spotlight yet decisive for the overall atmosphere. And people often struggle when they confuse these two roles. We try to use the flashlight to illuminate the entire stage. We try to use consciousness to control every signal. We try to understand, to monitor, to grasp everything. But consciousness was not created for that task. When forced to process too much, it becomes tired. When tired, it becomes tense. And when tense, it tries to shine brighter, making everything harsher and more uncomfortable. This is the familiar state of sleepless nights. The more you try to relax, the louder the mind becomes. The subconscious is different. It does not need focus. It is not overwhelmed by quantity. It processes in parallel. It is not distracted by having to choose only one thing. And for this reason, it can keep life running even in the most complex circumstances where consciousness cannot keep up. When you fall asleep, consciousness gradually narrows its beam. The flashlight is lowered, and as that light softens, the entire stage of the subconscious becomes clearer. You stop trying to understand what you are hearing. You stop analyzing each sentence. You stop tracking time. And in this state, the subconscious functions most effectively. What matters is this: consciousness does not need to disappear. It only needs to step back into its proper place. It is like an observer, leaving the center of the stage, sitting down in the front row, and allowing the play to unfold without interference. In Jungian psychology, much inattention arises because consciousness tries to occupy too much space. When consciousness refuses to step aside, the unconscious has no room to express itself. And when the unconscious cannot express itself, it appears indirectly through vague emotions, recurring dreams, unexplained fatigue. When consciousness knows how to narrow, the unconscious naturally expands in a healthy way. Not explosively, not overwhelmingly, simply returning to the right proportion. If right now you feel you are no longer following the narrative closely, if you listen without needing to understand every sentence, if you are simply sensing the slow rhythm of the voice, you are not missing anything. Consciousness is narrowing at the right moment. And when consciousness narrows, the subconscious has enough space to work. It does not need your supervision. It only needs you not to shine the light too harshly. Sleep is not darkness. Sleep is light lowered just enough, so you no longer have to look, but only to feel. No longer have to understand, but only to remain still. No longer have to grasp, but only to let things unfold. And when you begin to accept that consciousness was designed to be narrow, a quiet relief may appear. You no longer need to force it wider. No longer need to push yourself to be more aware, more alert, more attentive. Consciousness was never meant to carry the whole world. It was only meant to choose a viewpoint and allow the rest to be held by the subconscious. The subconscious does not need strong light to see. It senses through the whole body the gentle pressure on your back as you lie down, the subtle change in breathing as a voice becomes deeper, the feeling of safety or unease that spreads before thought appears. These signals do not need names. They only need permission to exist. When you are awake, consciousness tends to interfere. It asks, "What is that sound? How do I feel? Should I pay attention?" But when you grow tired, those questions begin to fall away. And in that space, without questions, the subconscious has room to do what it does best: keep the entire system running in harmony. In the Jungian spirit, this is a healthy transition between two worlds. Consciousness is not pushed out. It is simply invited to sit down. And when it stops insisting on standing at the center of the stage, it discovers that the play continues even more smoothly. Many people struggle to sleep not because the subconscious is inactive, but because consciousness refuses to narrow. It keeps shining light on every thought, every sensation, every tiny signal. And when the light is too strong, the entire stage becomes tense. But when you allow the light to soften, the subconscious begins to adjust very small things. The heart rate slows slightly, the breath deepens a little, the body grows heavier. There is no sharp transition, no clear boundary between waking and sleeping. Just consciousness, stepping back, one small step at a time, while the subconscious moves forward in response. If you no longer know how long you have been listening, if time begins to feel unclear, if you feel that you are here without needing to do anything, this is the state in which the subconscious works most broadly, uninterrupted, unjudged, unpressured to achieve anything. You do not need to expand awareness. You only need to reduce interference. And in doing so, you allow yourself to return to your natural proportion, a consciousness bright enough to notice and a subconscious wide enough to support. In this balance, sleep is not something to seek. It is a natural consequence. Just as when the flashlight is lowered, you do not need to do anything for darkness to appear. It simply arrives gently, steadily. From here, as inner space becomes wide and quiet, enough deeper memories may begin to surface, not as words, but as sensations. Childhood impressions, emotional memories stored in the subconscious may begin to whisper in their own way. Part 7. Childhood imprints and emotional memory. There is something very subtle about childhood that we often forget as adults. Childhood does not disappear when memories fade. It simply withdraws from language, from stories that can be told, and continues to exist in another form, the form of feeling. The subconscious remembers childhood differently from consciousness. It does not store dates. It does not arrange sequences. It does not require words. The subconscious stores childhood in heart rhythms, in bodily tension, in sensations of safety or unease that arise before thought. A room may feel comforting for no clear reason. A voice may make you tense in an instant. A glance may make you feel smaller, as if you were young again. These reactions are not random. They are imprints of very early experiences recorded by the subconscious before you had enough language to understand what was happening. From Carl Jung's perspective, the personal unconscious is formed precisely from these early experiences. Jung believed that children do not understand the world rationally, but experience it through the whole body and emotional field. And for that reason, what happens during those years enters the subconscious as vivid, durable patterns. A child may not remember what happened, but it remembers how it felt. And those feelings become early beliefs about the world. Is the world safe? Am I heard? Do I need to be alert? These questions are not answered with words, but through repeated experience. And the subconscious records those answers, carrying them through life as a silent compass for emotion and behavior. This is why many adult reactions do not originate in the present, but in very old emotional memories. When you react strongly to an offhand comment, when you withdraw in situations that are not truly dangerous, when you feel discomfort you cannot explain, this is not being too sensitive. It is the subconscious responding based on imprints that once helped you survive. The subconscious is like a wordless diary of childhood. There is no clear narrative, only notes of sensation. This is safe, that is not. And because there are no words, you cannot reread it like a book. You can only feel it when similar situations arise. In sleep, these imprints often become more noticeable. Not because they want to disturb you, but because night is when consciousness no longer covers them so strongly. Dreams, vague images, nameless emotions may surface. Not to be analyzed, but to continue being processed. Jung believed the unconscious does not seek to cause suffering, but to bring what has been forgotten back into balance. When childhood imprints remain unrecognized, they continue to act from behind the scenes. But when they are noticed without fixing, without judgment, they begin to soften. And what matters is this: you do not need to return to childhood through clear memory. You do not need to recall details. The subconscious does not require that. It only needs a sense of safety in the present to update old notes. If right now something feels faintly familiar, if a gentle emotion arises and fades, if you are unsure whether you are thinking or simply sensing, this is a sign that the subconscious is lightly touching old pages of its diary, not to hurt you but to remind you how far you have come, and that many things once needed can now rest. You do not need to do anything with these sensations. No naming, no immediate understanding. Just remain in the safety of this moment. Tonight, the subconscious is not asking you to return to the past. It only wants you to remain in the present long enough to adjust imprints that are no longer necessary. And from this deep foundation, we will continue into survival instincts and warning systems, where you may realize that even reactions that exhaust you were once clumsy expressions of care from the subconscious. Perhaps what makes childhood imprints so enduring is not their intensity, but the lack of choice at the time they were formed. A child cannot leave, cannot analyze, cannot question circumstances. It can only adapt. And the subconscious learns that adaptation with complete seriousness and loyalty. If silence prevented conflict, the subconscious remembered silence. If vigilance prevented harm, it remembered vigilance. If pleasing others ensured acceptance, it remembered that too. These strategies were not chosen through thought. They formed as survival reflexes, early, fast, and deep. And because they were formed when body and emotion were still tender, they carry an intensity that later feels too much. The subconscious does not know you have grown up. It only knows that the strategy once saved you. In the Jungian spirit, childhood imprints are not flaws, but foundations of psychological structure. Jung believed maturity does not come from erasing the past, but from forming a new relationship with it. When emotional memories are met with compassion rather than judgment, their role begins to change. What matters is this: the subconscious does not need you to return and fix childhood. It does not need you to relive what has passed. What it needs is a present experience, safe enough to update old beliefs. Each time you are in a familiar situation without being harmed, the subconscious records it. Each time you are heard without tension, it records it. Each time you rest without being abandoned, it records it. These new entries do not erase the old ones. They add to them. Over time, the new notes take up more space in that wordless diary. Old reflexes lose urgency. Once intense emotions soften, not because you force change, but because the subconscious has enough evidence that the present world differs from the past. Night is when this process unfolds most naturally. When consciousness rests, when the body relaxes, when there is no demand to be okay, emotional memories may rise gently. Not as stories, just sensations. A nameless sadness, a vague warmth, an unclear image, and then they settle again like small waves dissolving into a lake. You do not need to hold them. You do not need to push them away. You only need not to panic. If you are listening now in a quiet space with slow breath, the subconscious is receiving an essential message: this moment is safe. And when that message is repeated enough times, old imprints naturally loosen their grip. If you feel yourself drifting among unclear sensations, If you are unsure whether it is memory or fleeting emotion, if you sense a gentleness you cannot name, the subconscious is rereading its own diary, not to accuse, but to adjust. You do not need to understand what is being adjusted. You do not need to track the process. You only need to stay. Stay with the breath. Stay with the support of the bed. Stay with this voice as a familiar sign that you are not alone in the night. And from this deep place, when childhood imprints have been touched through safety, we will continue into survival instincts and warning systems, where you may discover that even your most exhausting reactions were once loving, if awkward, efforts of the subconscious. But that is a story for later. For now, if sleep is approaching, let it arrive the way a child is soothed, not through explanation, but through the feeling of being gently held. Part 8. Survival, Instincts, and the Alarm System. There is a part of you that remains alert, even when you believe you are relaxed. It is not loud. It does not ask questions. It does not argue. It simply observes quickly, quietly, silently. This is the subconscious alarm system, a mechanism formed not to make you anxious, but to keep you alive. The subconscious detects danger faster than consciousness, because it does not need time to think. It does not wait for proof. It does not require a complete explanation. A familiar signal, a sound, a glance, a subtle change in the atmosphere is enough to activate a response. When you startle at a noise before you know what it is, when your heart races before you understand why, when your body tightens before you can say, "It's okay," this is not overreaction. This is the subconscious doing its job correctly. In ancient survival logic, speed matters more than accuracy. Better to mistake danger than to miss it. Better to run first and apologize later than to remain still and be harmed. And so the subconscious alarm system follows a simple principle. Safety is prioritized over precision. This principle helped humanity survive for hundreds of thousands of years. But in the modern world, where danger is no longer as clear as the roar of a wild animal, this system sometimes reacts to signals that are no longer truly threatening. An email, a look, a fleeting memory, a sensation learned long ago. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the unconscious does not clearly distinguish between external danger and psychological threat. It reacts to anything that resembles a feeling of past unsafety. And because those feelings were often formed early, the alarm system may activate in situations that consciousness judges as not a big deal. But the subconscious does not care about big or small. It cares about familiar or unfamiliar, safe or unsafe. And when it encounters something that resembles an old danger, it reacts before you can intervene. What matters is this: the subconscious does not intend to exhaust you. It does not intend to ruin your sleep. When you lie down and suddenly feel anxious, tense, or flooded with thoughts, it is often because the alarm system is still active. Not because danger is present, but because it has not yet received the signal that now it is safe to rest. Sleep arrives only when the alarm system allows it, and the alarm system quiets only when safety is confirmed. Consciousness often tries to persuade, "It's fine, everything is okay, I should sleep." But the subconscious does not listen to words. It listens to states. It listens to breathing. It listens to muscle tension. It listens to the speed or slowness of movement. That is why forcing relaxation increases suspicion. But when you allow yourself not to sleep immediately, not to be okay immediately, not to control everything, the subconscious receives a different message. Vigilance can soften. If right now your body still feels slightly tense, if a part of you remains on guard, if you listen without fully letting go, that does not mean you are doing something wrong. It is simply an old guard who has not yet left the night shift. You do not need to dismiss this guard. You only need to show it that tonight there is nothing to protect against, nothing to respond to, nothing to prepare for. A slower breath, a longer pause between sentences, the growing heaviness of the body on the bed. These small signals speak more clearly to the subconscious than any reassurance. Jung believed that when the unconscious is acknowledged rather than denied, it softens. When survival responses are seen not as problems but as protective efforts, the inner relationship changes. The alarm system no longer needs to shout. It can whisper, and eventually it can rest. If your thoughts begin to fragment, if you stop tracking each idea, if the sense of having to stay alert dissolves, this is a sign that the alarm system is lowering its level. And when the alarm lowers, sleep does not need to be summoned. It appears naturally as a consequence of confirmed safety. From this foundation, we will move into moments of creativity, intuition, and aha experiences, where you may discover that the same system that protected you is also the source of your deepest insights. And perhaps when you look at your alarm system this way, you will notice something different. The subconscious is not pessimistic. It does not assume the world is bad. It assumes the world can be dangerous, and its task is to prepare for that possibility. No more, no less. A system designed to protect life cannot afford optimism. It must be cautious. It must react early. It must accept errors in the direction of over-alertness rather than missing something. And so many reactions that tire you today are inheritances of an ancient survival intelligence. The subconscious does not ask, "Is this logical?" It asks, "Does this resemble something that once hurt?" And if the answer is yes, even faintly, the alarm sounds. No meeting, no debate, no waiting for consciousness to agree. In survival logic, 1 second too late can be fatal. This explains why anxiety can arise even when everything is fine, why your body tenses in situations reason deems harmless, why night, when nothing practical remains to worry about, allows the alarm to sound more easily. Not because night is more dangerous, but because consciousness is tired and no longer strong enough to reassure with logic. But the subconscious does not need logic. It needs lived evidence. Evidence that the body is safe. Evidence that breath can slow. Evidence that nothing needs immediate response. This evidence comes not from thought, but from direct experience. Lying still long enough for the body to grow heavy, not rushing to change position, allowing thoughts to come and go without following them. Each time this happens, the alarm system receives a small signal it can lower its level. Not shut off, just lowered. Like a night guard who sits down instead of standing rigid. Still awake, still attentive, but no longer tense. And in that moment, fatigue is allowed. Sleep finds space to arrive. What matters is this: you do not need to eliminate the alarm system. You do not need to overcome anxiety. You do not need to defeat survival instinct. All of these approaches increase suspicion. Instead, you only need to change your relationship with it. Rather than seeing it as a disruptor, you can see it as a guardian who has worked too long without rest. And like any devoted guardian, what it needs is not command, but relief. A gentle signal that says, "Tonight, you can sit. I am safe here." If a part of you remains alert, if letting go is incomplete, if listening still includes watchfulness, that is perfectly okay. This system was not designed to shut off instantly. It was designed to lower gradually, as safety becomes consistent. And every minute you remain here within slow pacing, quiet space, and no demand to do anything is a minute in which this system is gently retrained. And when the alarm lowers far enough, something else emerges. Not anxiety, not tension, but openness. Inner space becomes less defensive. Deeper connections form. Ideas, intuitions, subtle insights find room to arise. Because the same system that once protected you from danger when allowed to rest becomes the system that enables creativity. But that is the story of the next part. For now, let the night guard lean back in the chair, still present, just no longer tense. And if your eyelids are growing heavy, if thoughts are dissolving, know that this is not a loss of safety. It is safety that has become sufficient for you to let go. Part 9. Creativity, intuition, and the aha moment. There are moments in life when answers arrive not because you thought long enough, but because you stopped thinking. An idea appears while you are showering. A solution flashes as you wake. A quiet sense of "I know" arises without clear explanation. These are aha moments, not loud, not dramatic, yet deeply weighted. They are not produced by effortful consciousness. They arise from the subconscious working beneath awareness. While consciousness is busy, the subconscious works backstage. It gathers fragments, compares patterns, connects what seems unrelated. And when everything is ready, it brings the result to the surface not as an argument, but as certainty. From Carl Jung's perspective, creativity is not forced thought, but collaboration between consciousness and the unconscious. Jung believed the unconscious is the source of images, symbols, and intuition. Consciousness does not create them. It receives them, interprets them, and gives them language. That is why trying too hard to figure it out blocks creativity. Consciousness wants control, correctness, speed, but the subconscious does not operate that way. It needs time, quiet, and freedom from scrutiny. It needs incubation. To incubate a problem does not mean abandoning it. It is the subtle act of setting it down, trusting that a deeper layer will continue processing. When you work diligently, then pause. When you ask a question, then allow, not knowing. In that space, the subconscious begins its work. Many discoveries, artworks, and breakthroughs have emerged in such states between waking and sleeping, between focus and release. Intuition often becomes strongest when you are tired, relaxed, no longer able to control everything. As consciousness weakens, the subconscious gains a voice. Intuition is not mystical. It is ultra-fast pattern recognition, compressed from countless experiences. When something feels right without explanation, the subconscious is saying, "I have seen this before." But it speaks in feeling, not words. In modern life, we often ignore these whispers. We favor loud reasoning plans, goals. We feel we must understand, justify, prove. And so the subtle signals of the subconscious are overlooked, especially during the day when consciousness dominates the stage. Night changes everything. Light softens. Sound fades. The body rests. No task remains. In this space, the subconscious whispers more clearly, not to demand action, but to continue connecting, creating, completing unfinished work. If you have ever woken with greater clarity than when you slept, if a problem felt lighter in the morning, if things suddenly fell into place without knowing why, these are traces of nocturnal subconscious work. And what matters is this: you do not need to force access to it. The subconscious does not function under pressure. It needs trust that it knows how to work. Trust that not every answer must come through effort. In the Jungian spirit, deep creativity comes not from an ego that wants to perform, but from an ego that listens. Listening to dream images, listening to vague bodily sensations, listening to quiet attraction toward unclear ideas. These do not need immediate explanation. They only need permission to exist. If you listen now, without trying to understand, if thoughts drift slowly, if vague images arise and dissolve, this is a sign that the subconscious is near the surface, not to wake you, but to continue its quiet, creative work. You do not need to capture aha moments now. You do not need to remember them. Tonight is not for producing tomorrow's answers. Tonight only needs enough stillness for the subconscious to continue working. From here, we will go deeper into subtle signals and unseen influences where you may discover that much is shaping you without your awareness. But that is the next story. Perhaps creativity and intuition appear in ordinary moments, showering, walking, lying in darkness, because consciousness no longer occupies all the space. It does not vanish. It simply stops controlling. It stops asking, "Is this logical? Should I keep thinking?" And in that gap, the subconscious connects, fragments gathered long ago. The subconscious does not invent from nothing. It connects. It places old experiences together in new arrangements. It compares patterns that seemed unrelated. And when a stable structure forms, it does not send it upward as a finished draft. It sends a feeling of rightness. That feeling is quiet, not euphoric, not absolutely certain, just deeply fitting. That is why intuition is often ignored. It does not shout. It does not argue. It does not defend itself. It whispers, then waits. If unheard, it does not protest. It returns to the background and keeps working. In Jung's spirit, the deepest creativity arises not from controlling outcomes, but from standing at the edge of the unknown. Jung believed the unconscious contains not only personal memory, but ancient images and archetypal patterns. When consciousness becomes quiet enough, these images surface not for immediate explanation, but to widen lived experience. That is why dreams, hypnagogic states, and moments just after waking carry unique creative quality. Consciousness is not strong enough to censor, yet not fully gone. It stands at the threshold, and at that threshold, the subconscious offers subtle suggestions, not for immediate action, but for planting seeds. A seed does not need bright light. It needs shade, time, unhurried space. When you try to seize an idea immediately, it contracts. But when you let it pass without grabbing, without remembering, the subconscious continues, nurturing it deeper. And often what you receive after sleep is not a new idea, but clearer direction. This applies to life itself. Many important decisions do not need tense analysis. They need incubation, set down, left alone, given time for subconscious comparison and sensing. When you stop forcing certainty, the subconscious answers in its own way, quietly, firmly, inexplicably. If you now drift among unclear thoughts, if you listen without tracking logic, if vague images arise and fade, this is not distraction. It is the subconscious near the surface, continuing to connect, create, and complete what daytime could not. You do not need to remember what is happening. You do not need to understand its meaning. Tonight is not for creating. Tonight only needs enough stillness for deep connections to form. And when stillness lasts long enough, whispers no longer need sound. They dissolve into intuition, into a quiet knowing, into gentle certainty for tomorrow. From this soft space, we will move into subtle influences, small yet persistent forces shaping you without awareness. But that is the next story. For now, let unnamed ideas rest a little longer. Let intuition continue working in silence. And if sleep approaches, let it come as fertile emptiness, where creativity needs no light, only rest. Part 10. Subtle signals and unseen influences. There are many things in life that touch you without your awareness. Not because you are inattentive, but because they do not require consciousness to be received. A faint scent passes and disappears. A distant sound too unclear to name. An image flickers briefly in your field of vision, not long enough to hold your gaze. Yet the subconscious registers all of it. The subconscious does not wait for your attention to begin working. It receives the world as a continuous flow, where every signal can leave a trace, however faint. A scent may evoke a sense of safety without your knowing why. A familiar melody may slow your breathing before you realize you are listening to music. A color, a light, a shadow is enough for the subconscious to adjust your inner state. These stimuli do not control you in an absolute sense. They do not command. They do not force. They merely suggest, very gently. And the subconscious, accustomed to processing subtlety, responds in its own way, not through thought, but through feeling. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, human beings live not only in the physical world, but also within an invisible web of symbols. Images, sounds, and scents are not merely information. They are psychological signals capable of activating deeper layers of the unconscious. And because they operate outside conscious attention, their influence is often more enduring than what we deliberately think. Life is therefore full of invisible guidance, not in a mystical sense, but in a very ordinary one. The path you take each day, the way you arrange your living space, the background sounds you are used to, the light you turn on in the evening, all of these send small messages to the subconscious. Is this safe? Can I relax here? Should I remain alert, or can I rest? You do not need to control these signals to live well. In fact, the more you try to control them, the more tense the subconscious becomes. What you can do, and this is very gentle, is recognize that you are always being guided by small things. And when you choose gentler signals, the subconscious will naturally adjust. Night is when subtle signals become most apparent. When there are fewer strong stimuli, delicate influences begin to surface. A small sound makes you turn over. A light breeze makes you pull the blanket closer. A slow rhythm of speech makes your eyelids grow heavy. You do not decide these responses. They happen before you can think. This does not mean you are being controlled. It simply means the subconscious is continuously adjusting, keeping you in the state best suited to your environment. And when the environment is quiet, steady, and safe enough, those adjustments guide you toward rest. If you are unsure which sentence you are hearing, if you feel yourself simply drifting with the rhythm of the voice, if your thoughts no longer link into clear chains, it is because subtle signals are at work. They do not need your understanding. They do not need your tracking. They only need to be repeated long enough. Sleep does not come from a single large decision. It comes from hundreds of small agreements. Soft light, steady sound, slower breath, a spreading sense of safety. When enough signals say the same thing, now you can rest, the subconscious allows sleep to occur. You do not need to create these signals through effort. You only need to remain in the space that already exists and allow it to do its work. The subconscious does not require perfection. It only needs gentle consistency. Whether tonight you sleep deeply or only doze, the subconscious has still registered these signals. Tomorrow, or on another night, they will continue to take effect quietly, gradually, and steadily. From here, as you recognize how much influence happens beyond awareness, we will move deeper into how the body speaks for the subconscious, where emotion appears before words. And perhaps as you begin to notice these subtle signals, you may realize something comforting: you have never truly been alone in navigating life. Even when you do not know where you are being led, the subconscious is receiving countless small cues and quietly adjusting your inner direction. A familiar scent may soothe a long day without explanation. A steady sound may slow the mind without reason. A warm yellow light may relax the body before you realize you are tired. These things do not command, they do not control, but they create context, and the subconscious, highly sensitive to context, responds accordingly. It does not ask whether you want to change states. It only asks, what does this environment suggest? In the Jungian spirit, the unconscious communicates through images, sensations, and symbols, not concepts. That is why the strongest influences on the subconscious rarely come from logical thinking, but from very small, everyday signals, repeated long enough to become familiar. This is why the subconscious is shaped less by a single major event than by what happens daily. How you wake, how you end the day, what you hear while resting, the space you return to each night. All of these are steady whispers, and the subconscious listens attentively. What matters is this: the subconscious is not programmed mechanically. It does not obey one signal alone. It integrates. A pleasant scent cannot dissolve tension if the body remains rigid. A gentle sound cannot induce sleep if the light is too bright. But when many signals speak together here, it is safe to relax, the subconscious believes. That is why sleep does not result from a single action. It is the outcome of a quiet agreement among many small factors. And when that agreement is not yet sufficient, the subconscious continues adjusting, testing, listening to the environment until safety is felt. At night, when you stop trying to make yourself sleep, subtle signals finally have room to work. When you stop checking the clock, stop evaluating your state, stop asking, "Am I asleep yet?" Those questions belong to consciousness. And when consciousness steps back, the subconscious can hear the surroundings more clearly. If you no longer remember how long you have been listening, if you feel yourself drifting in a hazy space, if thoughts no longer demand answers, it is because subtle signals are synchronizing body and mind, not quickly, not suddenly, just steadily. You do not need to worry that you are being influenced too much. The subconscious is not easily manipulated. It has been trained through an entire lifetime. It knows the difference between danger and safety. And when it chooses safety, it is because there is enough lived evidence. That evidence can be very simple. You are lying down. Nothing requires response. No one is asking you to do anything. No immediate danger needs handling. These small facts repeated are the strongest invisible guidance of all. No slogans, no affirmations, just peaceful presence. And from this gentle space, as the subconscious grows accustomed to listening to subtle signals, it will begin communicating in another way through the body. Breath, posture, sensations of weight and lightness. That wordless conversation is the story of the next part. For now, let the invisible signals continue their work. Without your attention, without your understanding, simply allow yourself to be here. And if sleep is approaching, let it come like a very gentle suggestion, one the subconscious accepted long ago. Part 11. The body speaks for the subconscious. Before you think you are sad, the body has already softened slightly. Before you realize you are anxious, the breath has shortened. Before you name an emotion, the body already knows. The body is always one small step ahead of consciousness. Not because it is faster, but because it does not need to think. It listens directly to signals from the subconscious, where emotions form before words. And so the body becomes the intermediary language between the inner world and the visible one. A slight furrow of the brow, a shoulder lifting subtly, a glance that turns away for a split second. These micro-expressions happen too quickly for consciousness to intervene. They are not planned, not edited, not performed. They are the direct flow of the subconscious, expressed through the body. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, body and unconscious are inseparable. Jung believed the psyche does not live only in thought, but permeates posture, movement, and biological rhythm. When consciousness says one thing, the body may say another, and often the body speaks the truth first. Emotion does not begin with words. It begins with sensation, a heaviness in the chest, a wave of warmth through the belly, a gentle tightening in the throat. Only afterward does consciousness arrive and say, this is sadness, this is anxiety, this is relief. But the body knew beforehand. And if consciousness does not listen, the body will continue speaking louder, clearer, more persistent. Much exhaustion does not come from thinking too much, but from not listening to the body for too long. The subconscious sends signals through breath posture, vague aches, nameless restlessness. But consciousness stays busy interpreting, judging, dismissing, until the body must speak more forcefully. Night is when the body can speak most clearly. When you lie down, when movement stops, when there are no tasks left, signals once ignored emerge. A tight spot in the back, an incomplete breath, a deep fatigue, not to disturb you but to be heard. The body does not judge. It does not blame you for neglect. It simply continues its task informing you of the true inner state. And when you do not try to fix, explain, or push sensations away, the body softens. Not because it is convinced, but because it has been acknowledged. Wordless language, posture, gaze, breath belongs to the subconscious because the subconscious does not speak in sentences. It speaks in states, and the body is where those states appear most honestly. You may say, "I'm fine," but if your shoulders are tense, your jaw clenched, your breath shallow, the subconscious is saying something else. Sleep arrives only when the body believes it no longer needs to speak, when breathing slows naturally, when muscles release defensive holding, when the eyes stop scanning the darkness. That is when the subconscious receives the message, I have been heard. I can rest. If your body feels heavier now, if the breath deepens on its own, if thinking fades into sensing, this is not loss of control. It is the body returning to its guiding role. You do not need to adjust posture correctly. You do not need to breathe in any special way. You do not need to do anything. Simply allow the body to speak, as it always has known how. In the Jungian spirit, healing is not understanding everything, but restoring dialogue between consciousness and the unconscious. And the body is the bridge of that dialogue. When the body is allowed to be present without correction or judgment, the subconscious gradually feels safe. And when the subconscious feels safe, the body releases. When the body releases, sleep does not need to be summoned. It simply arrives. From this foundation, we will move deeper into intuition, instinct, and gut feeling, where knowing exists without words. And if you listen to the body a little longer, you may realize it never demanded understanding. It does not need analysis. It only needs gentle attention. Attention that does not fix, rush, or try to change one sensation into another. The body speaks an ancient language older than words, older than concepts. It speaks in rhythm, heart rate, breath, depth, tension, and release. These rhythms are how the subconscious continuously reports your sense of safety in the world. When you feel safe, the body opens naturally. The chest softens. Shoulders drop. Breath lengthens without effort. But when something evokes unease, however small, the body closes before you realize, not to trouble you, but to protect what is tender inside. Many people grow up learning not to trust the body. They are taught emotions are inconvenient, fatigue is weakness, tension must be overcome. Gradually, they listen more to the mind than the body. But the subconscious does not live in the head. It lives throughout the body. And when the body is not heard, the subconscious continues speaking, sometimes through lingering fatigue, sometimes through stronger signals. In Jung's view, what is not received by consciousness seeks expression through other paths. And the body is the most honest path. It cannot lie. It cannot hide. It simply reflects the inner state of the moment. Night is when the relationship between you and your body can heal. No need to perform. No need to react quickly. No social posture to hold. The body can return to its most basic state, lying down, breathing, sensing. You may notice a tension you never felt during the day. You may feel a deep heaviness, not quite pain, just there. Do not rush to change it. Do not adjust. Let it exist in the safety of night. The body does not need solutions. It needs permission. When you allow a sensation to stay, the subconscious receives an important message we no longer need to defend. And when defense lowers, the body begins to self-regulate, not by schedule, not by technique, but by its own biological rhythm. Wordless language, closed eyes, steady breath, relaxed muscles is the subconscious's reply when it feels heard. You do not need to make yourself sleep. You only need to stop interrupting the body. The rest will unfold. If you no longer follow the narrative clearly, if you feel simply here supported, if thoughts drift without demand, it is a sign the body has begun to trust. Trust that there is no danger. Trust that no response is needed. Trust that rest is possible. And when the body trusts, the subconscious allows sleep to come closer, not as a sudden collapse, but as a gentle drift, like stopping swimming and letting the water hold you. Nothing more to do, only not to resist. You do not need to remember what you heard. You do not need to carry any ideas with you. Tonight is not for understanding. Tonight is only for feeling. And from this very quiet space, when the body has finished saying what it needed to say, we will continue into deeper layers of intuition and instinct, where knowing comes without thought. But that is the story of the next part. For now, let the body rest. Let the subconscious be at ease. And if sleep is coming, let it arrive like a final whisper. Very small, very gentle, and needing no reply. Part 12. Intuition, instinct, and gut feeling. There are moments when you know something before you have time to. Think, not through logic, not through reasoning, but through a feeling that is vague yet certain, a sensation in the chest, in the belly, or spreading softly through the body. People often call this a gut feeling or intuition. But intuition is not mysterious. It is simply knowledge that has been compressed so deeply it no longer needs words. Intuition is the subconscious's ability to recognize patterns at extraordinary speed. Throughout your life, you have encountered countless situations, people, sounds, glances, rhythms. Consciousness remembers only a small fraction of them. The subconscious, however, stores patterns not as stories but as sensory traces. And when a new situation arises, the subconscious compares it to this vast archive in an instant, then sends a signal upward, move toward this, or step back. That signal has no sentences. It does not argue. It does not explain. It is simply a sense of fit or misfit. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, intuition is one of the fundamental psychological functions of human beings. Jung believed intuition does not rely on detailed analysis, but on grasping the whole, a way of seeing, without step-by-step reasoning. It does not oppose rationality. It complements reason where reason is too slow or too narrow. Many people distrust intuition because they are accustomed to a world of clear explanations. But intuition is not impulsive emotion. It is the result of deep processing, compressed until only a small signal remains. Like a thick book folded into a single thin page, the content has not disappeared, it is simply no longer displayed. Instinct works in the same way. When you dodge before an object falls, your body has already responded before you understand what is happening. When you trust someone upon first meeting them, or feel uneasy without clear reason, the subconscious is using data that consciousness cannot access. Not to be perfectly correct, but to protect you in time. What matters is this: intuition is not always right, but it is always faithful to what the subconscious has learned. And if you live in a state of tension, haste, or noise, it becomes difficult to hear it. Not because intuition grows silent, but because consciousness is speaking too loudly. Night is when intuition becomes easiest to sense, when you do not need to decide, when there is no pressure to act, when questions can be set down. In that state, the subconscious can send very subtle signals, not to make you do anything immediately, but simply to be acknowledged. If you have ever felt that a problem suddenly became clearer after sleep, if you have woken knowing what to do even though the night before felt uncertain, that is not magic. It is intuition having enough space to complete its processing. Intuition does not like being forced. When you question it repeatedly, is this right? Should I trust this? What if I'm wrong? It retreats. Not because it is weak, but because the environment is no longer safe for it to speak. Intuition needs stillness, space, acceptance that not everything must be proven immediately. In the Jungian spirit, psychological maturity is not about eliminating instinct, but about learning to dialogue with it. Consciousness may ask, but should not interrogate. It may listen, but should not demand answers. When this relationship becomes harmonious, intuition becomes a very quiet guide, not commanding, not urging, just gently reminding when needed. If you are listening now without analyzing, if the words feel as though they are simply passing by, if a faint but pleasant sense of knowing appears, that is a sign intuition is nearer to the surface, not to direct you, but to be trusted. You do not need to use intuition for any decision tonight. You do not need to check whether it is right or wrong. Tonight only needs enough quiet for deep processing to continue. And when you wake, if greater clarity appears, know that it did not arise from nowhere. It came from a part of you that worked carefully and silently while you rested. From this gentle space, we will move into scent music and emotional memory, where intuition is awakened not by thinking, but by pure sensation. And perhaps as you stay longer with the idea of intuition, you will realize that it has never demanded absolute belief. Intuition does not ask for obedience. It only asks to be listened to as a possibility, nothing more, nothing less. a very ancient capacity, existing alongside reason, not competing with it, not excluding it. Intuition is often misunderstood because we are used to believing that knowing must come with clear reasons. But intuition knows differently. It knows through ripeness, like fruit that cannot be dated precisely, yet you know when it is ready. That readiness needs no explanation. It only needs to be felt. The subconscious does not work in linear time. It does not process information one piece at a time. It layers experience, then compresses it into feeling. When you feel you should do something, hundreds of small details, glances, tones of voice, contexts, old memories may have been compared in the background, leaving behind a single clear signal, yes or no. In Jung's view, intuition is the bridge between consciousness and the unconscious. He believed that relying only on reason leads to a rigid, shallow life, while relying only on instinct without awareness can cause one to lose direction. Maturity lies in allowing these two streams to converse rather than cancel each other. What is important is that intuition does not thrive in tense environments. When you are rushed, afraid of mistakes, constantly asking, "Am I imagining this?" intuition steps back. Not because it disappears, but because the space is no longer safe for it to speak. Intuition must be invited, not summoned. At night, when no one demands certainty from you, intuition can finally breathe. Not to make you decide in the dark, but to reorganize how something feels. This is why many people wake with a gentle clarity. Not a complete answer, but a direction that feels less vague. This is also true of gut feeling, where intuition is often felt most clearly. Sensations in the belly are not random. This area contains many neural signals highly sensitive to safety and threat. When the subconscious finishes processing something, it often sends the signal through the body first, and only later, if needed, does consciousness interpret it. But you do not need to learn how to use intuition. You do not need to train yourself to hear it better. You only need to reduce interference. Stop forcing understanding. Stop demanding certainty. Stop asking questions in moments that do not need answers. If a gentle calm is spreading now, if you no longer want to keep thinking, if the words feel more like rhythm than meaning, that is intuition, resting where it belongs, not to guide, but to rest with you. Tonight is not for believing anything, not for choosing a path, not for solving a problem. Tonight only needs enough stillness for deep processing to continue quietly. And when you allow that, intuition does not need to speak. It knows that when the time comes, you will hear it not through effort, but through readiness. From this soft space, we will continue into scent music and emotional memory, direct gateways to the subconscious, where intuition is awakened not by thought, but by pure feeling. But that is the story of the next part. For now, let the gut feeling rest. No need to question it. No need to verify it. And if sleep is approaching, let it arrive as a very deep agreement between the part of you that knows and the part of you that does not need to. Speak. Part 13. Scent music and emotional memory there are paths that lead straight into the subconscious without asking permission from consciousness. No thinking required, no preparation. They touch lightly and a deep inner door opens. Scent is one of those paths. A faint scent can carry you back to a distant moment, not through clear images, but through a complete sensation. You may not remember where you were or who was there, but you remember how your body felt. Perhaps warmth, perhaps a gentle sadness, perhaps a sense of being held. Scent does not tell stories. It awakens states. The subconscious responds to scent so quickly that consciousness cannot intervene. Scent bypasses ordinary analysis and goes directly to regions tied to memory and emotion. No need to understand, no need to name. A single touch is enough to open a door. Music works similarly, but in a different way. Music does not return you to a specific moment. It adjusts internal rhythm, heart rate, breathing, the movement of thought. A slow melody does not persuade you to relax. It simply repeats the rhythm of relaxation long enough for the body to synchronize. You do not need to understand what the music says. You do not need to focus on each note. The body listens before consciousness evaluates. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, the unconscious communicates through images, symbols, and sensations, not concepts. And scent and music are living symbols that do not require rational decoding. They activate emotional layers that may be very early, very deep formed before language was fully available. This is why memory clings more strongly to sensation than to image. Images fade. Stories change over time, but sensation remains. A song from a difficult period may make your chest feel heavy within seconds. A familiar scent may create safety without explanation. The subconscious does not remember through sight. It remembers through bodily state. Night is when these pathways become clearest. When light dims, when words grow sparse, when there is little left to analyze. Scent and music can move directly inward, not to make you recall something specific, but to return you to a familiar state, one the subconscious once recorded as safe, or at least not requiring vigilance. You do not need to choose the right scent. You do not need the right piece of music. The subconscious does not seek perfection. It seeks gentle familiarity. When a scent is repeated during quiet moments, the subconscious begins associating it with rest. When a melody is heard while relaxed, the body learns that this sound signals slowing down, not in one instance, but across many soft repetitions. And then, with just a hint, the subconscious understands. No reminder needed, no effort required. A deeper breath appears. The body grows heavier, a release that is difficult to name. This is not magic. It is emotional memory being activated. What matters is this: you do not need to dig into these memories. You do not need to ask where they come from. You do not need to attach a story. The subconscious does not need analysis to work. It only needs permission. If you feel a familiar sensation without knowing why, if your inner pace slows as you hear the rhythm of the voice, if thoughts no longer line up demanding answers, it is because wordless pathways are opening. Tonight is not for remembering. Tonight is not for understanding. Tonight only needs enough gentleness for the subconscious to continue doing what it does best, connecting present sensation with safe emotional memories that once existed, even if you no longer know where they belong. From this very soft space, as scent and music touch deeper layers, we will move into the states between waking and sleeping, where dreams, hypnosis, and drowsiness reveal other languages of the subconscious. And perhaps what is most special about scent and music is not what they are, but that they require nothing from you. You do not need to concentrate. You do not need to remember. You do not need to analyze where a feeling comes from. They simply exist, passive, gentle, and the subconscious knows exactly what to do with that presence. A scent does not require logic to be understood. It does not argue. It does not persuade. It only opens. And when an old feeling is stirred, joyful or sad, what matters is not the memory's content, but the state it carries. The subconscious stores the past not as a film, but as a library of bodily states. And scent is the key that opens a random shelf. Music is different. It does not open a single memory compartment. It restores biological rhythm. Steady tempo, slow repetition, all send a clear message to the subconscious. No response is needed. When heart rate aligns with external rhythm, when breathing naturally lengthens with melody, the body understands there is no urgency. In the Jungian spirit, what affects the unconscious most deeply is not argument, but symbolic experience. Scent and music do not say relax. They embody relaxation. And the subconscious learns through resonance of state, not command. This is why you may hear the same piece of music many times, but only in certain contexts does it reach deeply. Not because the music changed, but because your inner context did. When the subconscious is open, these signals travel far. When it is defensive, they merely pass by. There is no right or wrong, only readiness. Emotional memory works the same way. A memory does not need to be clearly recalled to have impact. You may not remember the first time you heard a melody, but your body remembers how it felt. You may not know why a scent brings sadness, but the subconscious remembers that state existed, and it does not judge. It simply records. At night, when consciousness loosens, control emotional memories are no longer covered by story. They appear purely as sensation, as a wave, as expansion or contraction in the chest. If you do not rush to label or explain, these sensations will pass on their own, leaving not confusion, but lightness. You do not need to heal memory by digging into it. The subconscious does not need excavation. It needs a safe enough environment for memory to pass through without being held. Scent music and slow narration provide exactly that environment. Non-invasive, unforced, simply present. If you feel a very vague emotion now, neither clearly happy nor sad, with no image attached, that is perfectly okay. That is how emotional memory often appears when consciousness is not directing it. You do not need to follow it. You do not need to know where it belongs. Just allow it to be felt and fade like a faint fragrance thinning in the air. And as the subconscious grows accustomed to sensations arriving and leaving freely, it holds less tightly, less vigilant, less defensive. That is when sleep ceases to be something you must work toward and becomes a natural result of release. From this very gentle foundation, we will step into the states between waking and sleeping, where images, symbols, and dreams begin speaking in the subconscious's own language. But that is the story of the next part. For now, if there is a faint scent in the space, if a steady rhythm is repeating softly, let them continue doing what they do best. No need to notice, no need to remember, just remain with the sensation. And if sleep is approaching, let it arrive like a memory without images, containing only stillness. Part 14. Dreams, Hypnosis, and the in-between states. There is a very delicate zone between waking and sleeping, where you are no prosit, longer fully awake, yet not truly immersed in dreams. In that space, thoughts no longer follow orderly paths. Images appear and dissolve. Sensations drift through without needing names. This is the in-between realm, where the subconscious begins to speak in its own language. Dreams are not random stories. They are not created to confuse you, nor to deliver direct messages. Dreams exist because something remained unfinished while you were awake. Not necessarily events, but emotions, conflicts, or aspects of experience that had no clear place in consciousness. When you sleep, consciousness temporarily withdraws. It no longer controls, organizes, or censors. And in that moment, the subconscious gains space to continue processing what remains unresolved, not through logic, but through images, not through words, but through symbols. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. Jung believed the subconscious does not speak in logical language, but in symbols, because symbols can hold many layers of meaning at once, beyond the limits of words. An image in a dream does not need to be understood literally. It exists to evoke, not to explain. In dreams, time is no longer linear. Those who have gone may appear as if they never left. Places you have never been can feel strangely familiar. This is not distortion, but the subconscious pairing emotions with fitting images regardless of ordinary logic. Hypnosis, lucid dreaming, or the hypnagogic state, that drowsy moment before sleep, are all variations of this in-between zone. In these states, consciousness is loose enough, not to control, yet present enough to observe. They are not mystical phenomena. They are simply different degrees of letting go. When you dream and still know you are dreaming, or when you hear an inner voice that does not feel foreign, the subconscious is operating very close to the surface. Not to command you, not to direct you, but to explore communication when consciousness is no longer rigid. What matters is this: you do not need to understand your dreams. Jung did not encourage mechanical dream interpretation. He believed what matters more is the feeling left behind. A dream may be unclear, but the feeling it leaves lighter, heavier, calmer is what the subconscious wants you to notice. At night, as you listen to slow stories, as the voice does not urge you to keep up, you may begin to enter these in-between states. Not fully asleep, not fully awake, simply drifting. And in that drifting, images may arise unclear, illogical, unnecessary to remember. If you find yourself listening without clearly distinguishing words, if fragmented images appear and fade, if you are unsure whether you are dreaming or listening, this is not distraction. It means you are very close to the threshold of the subconscious. The subconscious does not need your attention. It does not need your cooperation. It only needs enough quiet to work. And when you stop trying to stay awake or force sleep, this in-between space opens naturally. Dreams are not meant to solve your life. They simply rebalance what tilted during the day. A bit of emotion released, a bit of conflict set aside, a few images replacing words. And when this work is done, the subconscious allows you to sink deeper into sleep or return to the surface if needed. There is no right or wrong, no goal to achieve. Only the ancient flow of the human mind operating faithfully every night, whether you notice it or not. From this hazy space, we will move toward the relationship between the subconscious and health, where you will see how expectations, beliefs, and emotions can reach the physical body. And perhaps what makes dreams hard to grasp is not their complexity, but that they were never meant to be grasped. Dreams are not created to be fully remembered in the morning. They exist so a part of you can speak what daylight has no language for. In dreams, the subconscious is not bound by right and wrong, real and unreal, logical and illogical. It cares only about emotional resonance. A strange image appears not because it is factually accurate, but because it fits your inner feeling. And the subconscious always chooses the shortest language symbol. In Jung's view, symbols are the natural language of the unconscious. A symbol does not carry one meaning. It opens multiple layers, depending on time and the dreamer's life state. This is why Jung did not treat dreams as puzzles to solve, but as dialogues unfolding at night. In in-between states, light hypnosis, lucid dreaming, hypnagogia, this dialogue becomes clearer, yet more fragile. Consciousness remains, but not strong enough to interfere, like someone standing at the edge watching without stepping in. And this distance allows the subconscious to reorganize lived experience in its own way. Many images appearing in these states do not need to be remembered. They are like waves touching shore and retreating, leaving no objects behind, but reshaping the sand. You may not remember what you dreamed, but you wake with a different feeling. Lighter, clearer, or simply less tense. This is no accident. When the subconscious finishes processing something, it does not send a report to consciousness. It adjusts your state, and that new state is what you carry into waking. In dreams, different parts of you can meet fear, desire, repression, unlived potential. By day, these parts are separated by roles, duties, social images. At night, when boundaries blur, they touch without conflict. Light hypnosis and lucid dreaming are not loss of control. They are temporary transfers of control from consciousness to the subconscious. Not for the subconscious to dominate, but to complete work impossible under constant supervision. If you find yourself hearing without clarity, if you drift through incomplete images, if you cannot tell whether you are dreaming or awake, you are not lost. You are in the in-between where the subconscious works best. You do not need to pull yourself back to alertness. No need to fear falling asleep. No need to worry about missing anything. Those concerns belong to consciousness. The subconscious knows nothing is missed. Its work does not depend on memory. Dreams need no audience, no analyst, no explanation. They only need to happen. And when you allow yourself to drift here, the subconscious continues, clearing, organizing, balancing. What remained unresolved during the day is placed where it belongs. Not erased, but no longer demanding urgent attention. From this balance, something else emerges. The body responds. Breathing deepens. Muscles soften. Vague tensions dissolve without reason. And here, the link between subconscious and health begins to reveal itself. But that is the story of the next part. For now, if images are fading, if the voice feels farther away, if you no longer know exactly where you are, let it happen. No holding, no remembering. Just pass through the in-between. And if sleep arrives, let it come like a dream without a narrator, only the subconscious quietly finishing its work. Part 15. The subconscious and health. There are changes in the body that occur without your command. The heart races with anxiety, even as you tell yourself it's fine. The stomach tightens at bad news before you understand it. Or, conversely, a wave of relief spreads, simply because you believe things will be okay. These reactions do not come from conscious thought. They come from the subconscious. The subconscious does not only store memory and emotion, it coordinates physiology. It communicates with the nervous system, endocrine system, immune system, and it does so continuously without your permission. The body, in a very real sense, listens to the subconscious. The placebo effect clearly demonstrates this link. When someone believes they are being treated, their body may respond as if treatment were real. Pain decreases. Symptoms soften. Physiological markers change, not because of the medication, but because of expectation. And expectation does not live on the surface of consciousness. It lives deeper in the subconscious, where beliefs are formed and operate. Stress works the same way. Stress is not just a mental feeling. It is a prolonged physiological state. When the subconscious perceives danger, even psychological danger, it activates survival responses. Increased cortisol, faster heart rate, muscle tension, energy prioritized for immediate reaction. When this state persists, the body becomes exhausted, not because it is weak, but because it has been kept in alert mode too long. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, what is not consciously recognized and integrated seeks expression through the body. Jung did not view physical symptoms as purely biological problems. He believed many disorders carry deep psychological elements, not because illness is imagined, but because mind and body are inseparable. The subconscious does not clearly distinguish between what is real and what is believed to be real. It responds to the meaning you assign to life experiences. If it believes you are threatened, the body responds as if you are. If it believes you are cared for, the body opens toward recovery. Not instantly, not magically, but steadily. This does not mean positive thinking alone is enough. The subconscious is not persuaded by slogans. It learns through repeated experience, moments of true rest, times the body is allowed to soften without pressure, safe experiences lasting long enough for the alarm system to lower. Night is especially important for this process. During sleep, the subconscious not only processes emotion but recalibrates physiology. The immune system rebalances, tissues repair, hormones reset. And this happens best when the subconscious receives a simple message: vigilance is not required. Expectation influences physiology, not because you hypnotize yourself, but because expectation is the map the subconscious uses to predict the world. If that map is filled with danger, the body remains tense. If it includes safe zones, the body allows rest when there, and sleep is the most important safe zone. If you are listening now without trying to understand, if you are simply aware of lying and breathing, if your body feels heavier without reason, that is the subconscious shifting into recovery mode. You do not need to heal tonight. No fixing is required. The body does not ask for solutions. It asks for conditions. Conditions to do what it already knows how to do: self-balance. In the Jungian spirit, health is not the absence of symptoms, but harmony among inner parts. When consciousness stops opposing the subconscious, when the body no longer needs to shout to be heard, when fatigue is allowed to lead to rest instead of resistance. Whether you sleep deeply or lightly tonight, the subconscious is still working. It does not require a perfect night. It needs enough quiet nights repeated. From this foundation, we will move toward how society, bias, and human synchronization influence the subconscious, where you will see that health is not only personal, but relational. And perhaps the gentlest realization in seeing the link between subconscious and health is this: your body has never been against you. Even in pain, persistent symptoms, or nameless exhaustion, it has been trying to communicate. It does not punish. It does not betray. It speaks the only language available when all else fails. Many people feel they must battle their bodies, battle stress, insomnia, anxiety, pain. But the subconscious does not understand combat. It understands safety and threat being heard and being ignored. When you force the body to function as before, the subconscious receives more evidence. The environment is unsafe, keeping defenses high. Health from this view is not eliminating symptoms, but changing your relationship with signals. Fatigue signals an unsustainable pace. Chronic tension signals a map of safety that is too narrow. When rest is needed but denied, the body repeats its message, not stubbornly, but loyally, protecting life. In Jung's spirit, healing is not returning to an old state, but integrating a new experience, one where the body is allowed to slow without judgment, where fatigue is not failure, where rest is not laziness. Repeated, these experiences rewrite deep expectations in the subconscious. Those expectations influence physiology more than words ever could. Not what you tell yourself, but how you live daily. Do you allow yourself to stop when needed? Do you believe you deserve care? Do you create spaces where the subconscious can lower vigilance? At night, when demands pause, the subconscious reassesses the environment. If it finds no danger, no urgency, no demand, it shifts from survival to recovery. Immune function improves. Stress hormones decrease. Repair processes begin quietly. You do not need to believe sleep will heal you. The subconscious does not need belief spoken aloud. It needs conditions repeated. A quiet room, a slow voice, a sense of not being rushed. These small things, repeated often enough, become living proof that the world, at least in these moments, does not require you to brace yourself. If your body feels heavier now, if breathing deepens naturally, if you no longer think about whether you'll sleep, that is the subconscious accepting rest. Remember, there is no failed sleep. Even lying quietly with closed eyes gives the subconscious rest signals. Perfection is not required. Gentle consistency is. In the Jungian view, health is a process, not a destination. A process where inner parts learn cooperation instead of conflict, where consciousness stops forcing, where the subconscious no longer needs symptoms to speak, where the body is trusted as an ally. From this harmony, you may begin to see that health is not only individual, it is shaped, nourished, or eroded by relationships, shared rhythms, social spaces. Here the story opens toward how humans synchronize unconsciously. But that is the next part. For now, let the body continue doing what it needs. No supervision, no pushing, just allow recovery to happen quietly. And if sleep comes, let it arrive as a clear sign that the subconscious has understood tonight there is no need to brace anymore. Part 16. Society bias and human synchronization. There are moments in human interaction that happen too quickly for us to notice we are participating. A smile spreading across a room, breathing slowing when someone speaks softly, a sense of safety simply because someone is nearby. These things require no explanation. They occur beneath awareness, where the subconscious quietly connects us. Humans are social beings not only because we live together, but because our subconscious constantly seeks synchronization. We unconsciously mirror posture, speech, rhythm, expressions. Not to imitate falsely, but to confirm belonging. Synchrony is an ancient language of safety. I am like you, I am not a threat. Implicit biases work the same way. They are not consciously chosen thoughts. They are patterns learned early through repetition, environment, unexamined stories. The subconscious does not ask if they are fair. It asks, did this help me predict the world? Most human communication is non-verbal. It occurs through eye contact, distance, rhythm, silence. Few words may be spoken, yet subconscious exchange is rich. Who is tense, open, guarded, ready to listen. This information is processed faster than language. From Jung's perspective, the personal unconscious does not exist in isolation. It is always in relation to others, community, shared images, and patterns. Jung believed humans carry not only personal subconscious material, but shared deeper layers where symbols, reactions, and emotional rhythms feel strangely familiar even among strangers. This is why emotions spread. A tense crowd makes you tense. A calm space softens you. You do not choose these responses. Your subconscious reads the social field and adjusts, not to dissolve you into the group, but to keep you from losing rhythm. At night, when you are alone, social influences do not disappear. They settle. What you synchronized with during the day, others' tension, collective urgency, unspoken expectations, is processed. Sleep separates your rhythm from others, restoring balance. Implicit biases need not be fought away. They need gentle recognition. When you understand they formed to help you survive in certain environments, struggle dissolves. The subconscious learns best, not through confrontation, but through repeated new experiences. Experiences where you are safe, without needing to be like anyone else. The subconscious connects humans not only through similarity, but emotional resonance. When someone truly listens, your subconscious knows instantly. When you are accepted without explanation, your body relaxes before gratitude forms. These small moments rewrite deep safety maps. If you are listening now, without thinking of others. If you feel alone, but not lonely. If your inner rhythm slows without effort, that means the subconscious is loosening excessive daytime synchronization and returning you to your own rhythm. You do not need to understand society to rest. No relationships need solving tonight. Tonight only needs enough quiet for the subconscious to complete its adjustment, keeping nourishing connections, releasing draining rhythms. In Jung's view, maturity is not withdrawal from society, but presence without losing oneself. Sleep restores that inner rhythm, nightly, quietly, faithfully. From here, we will move toward learning skill and automation, where the subconscious reveals how much learning happens without effort. And as you look deeper into human synchronization, you may realize many emotions you carry are not entirely yours. They result from living too close to others' rhythms, shared anxieties, borrowed tensions, unspoken expectations. Your subconscious absorbs them not from weakness, but design. From early life, humans learn to read social environments to survive. Adult expressions, tone shifts, room, atmosphere, all are survival data. The subconscious learns when others tense with them. When others relax, it's safe. This protects children, but later can burden adults with emotions that aren't theirs. Implicit biases also arise here, not from independent thought, but repeated collective patterns. The subconscious asks, not is this true for me, but does this help me belong? In many life stages, belonging outweighs understanding. Jung spoke of the social shadow parts suppressed to fit norms. These parts do not vanish. They descend into the unconscious. At night, when roles fade, they breathe again. Sleep is thus not only personal rest, it is the separation of social rhythm from inner rhythm. Borrowed tensions are released. Emotional debts returned. Not by thinking, but by nervous system settling. You do not need to sort which feelings are yours. The subconscious does this far better than consciousness. When you rest without trying to solve society, it keeps nourishing bonds and releases tiring synchrony. Perhaps now you sense a different quiet than daytime. Not loneliness, but freedom from being pulled toward anyone. No reacting, no adjusting, just being in your own rhythm. And reassuringly, the subconscious does not break connections when you rest. It cleans interference. When you return tomorrow, you will synchronize again, more likely selectively. Not from coldness, but restored center. In Jung's spirit, individuation does not mean leaving community but being within it without being consumed. Sleep is where this process occurs nightly without awareness. If you are no longer thinking of society, no longer thinking of roles, no longer thinking of being seen, that is the subconscious returning you to yourself. You do not need to be anyone tonight. No connection required. No synchronization required. Tonight only needs enough quiet for existence without interaction. From this pure state, the subconscious will continue another task, consolidating skills, learning, automation, where you will see how much you know how to do without thought. But that is the next part. For now, let social rhythms dissolve. Let your own rhythm become clear. And if sleep comes, let it arrive as a rare stillness, where you do not need to merge with anyone, only to rest quietly within yourself. Part 17. Learning, skills, and automation. There is a very quiet moment in the human learning process, the moment when you no longer need to think, when your hands naturally find the right position, when the body knows what to do before consciousness has time to remind it, when an action flows so smoothly that you almost don't notice you've just done it. This is not absent-mindedness. It is a sign that the subconscious has taken over. Muscle memory does not live in the muscles. It lives in neural networks shaped through repetition. Each time you repeat an action, clumsy or imperfect, the subconscious records it. It does not judge right or wrong. It only registers sequence. And when that sequence becomes familiar enough, the subconscious automates it so consciousness no longer needs to spend energy supervising. This is how implicit learning happens. You do not need to force yourself to remember. You only need to stay with the experience long enough. The subconscious learns through exposure, through sensation, through small errors that are gradually adjusted. And precisely because it does not require constant conscious monitoring, this kind of learning is often deeper and more durable than learning driven by pressure. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the subconscious is not merely a repository for forgotten material, but a place where lived experience is integrated into the capacity for action. Jung believed that when a skill is practiced long enough, it no longer belongs to an ego that is trying, but becomes part of inner structure, where action unfolds without thought. That is why expertise is not about knowing more, but about needing to think less. A beginner must strain to remember each step. A skilled person does not need to remember. They simply act, not because they are careless, but because the subconscious has been trained well enough to carry the task. What is striking is this: the subconscious learns best when there is no pressure to be perfect. When you allow yourself to be wrong, to be slow to repeat, without self-judgment, the subconscious receives a signal of safety. And in a safe environment, learning happens faster, deeper, and with less exhaustion. During the day, consciousness often takes control. It wants to be correct, fast, productive. But at night, when consciousness recedes, the subconscious has space to consolidate what has been learned. Neural pathways are strengthened, reflexes refined, new skills quietly packaged and prepared for tomorrow. Sleep, then, is not merely rest. It is a silent training phase. You do not need to learn anything new at night. The subconscious only needs time to organize what already exists. And when you wake, you may find something feels easier than yesterday, not because you tried harder, but because the subconscious worked in the background. Automation is not loss of awareness. It is the liberation of consciousness from tasks that no longer require supervision. This frees consciousness to engage with novelty, complexity, or simply to rest. The subconscious does not compete with consciousness. It supports it. If right now you are listening, without following every idea, if the words pass like a steady rhythm, if your body feels heavier without effort, you are very close to the state in which the subconscious learns best, without pressure. You do not need to think about what you have learned. You do not need to track which skill is being practiced. The subconscious does not need lists. It needs gentle repetition. In the Jungian spirit, maturity is not about controlling every action, but about trusting what has already been integrated. When you no longer need to remind yourself step by step that is not giving up, it is a sign of ripeness. And sleep is where that ripeness continues to develop quietly and faithfully. From here we will move into distortions, fears, and overprotective mechanisms, places where the subconscious sometimes holds tightly to old reflexes in the name of safety, even when they are no longer appropriate. Perhaps what makes learning so exhausting for many people is not that they learn too slowly, but that they have never been allowed to learn at the rhythm of the subconscious. We are used to measuring progress consciously, how much we remembered today, how much we got right, where we failed. But the subconscious does not learn by days. It learns through cycles of repetition and emotional safety. The subconscious does not like being watched constantly. When you practice while judging yourself, when you learn while worrying whether you are good enough, the subconscious receives a signal of stress. And in stressful environments, it prioritizes survival over learning. This is why things flow when you are relaxed, and why you forget even simple things when you try too hard. Deep learning is not about accumulating information. It is about transferring the burden from consciousness to the subconscious. At first, consciousness must carry every detail. But with enough gentle, consistent practice, the subconscious begins to take over. It does not ask whether you are ready. It only needs enough evidence that the action can be repeated safely. In Jung's view, whatever is repeated long enough becomes part of psychological structure. Jung believed humans do not only learn to know, they learn to become. A skill once integrated is no longer something you do, but something you are in that moment. You do not play the piano. You are someone moving with sound. You do not drive. You are someone moving through space. This is the nature of healthy automation. It does not make you mechanical. It frees your inner hands. When a skill is carried by the subconscious, consciousness can rest, observe, create, or simply do nothing at all. At night, this automation is reinforced. While you sleep, the subconscious reviews action sequences from the day. What was repeated often enough is strengthened. What occurred only once fades. Not because you failed, but because the subconscious always asks, is this necessary for long-term survival? This explains why you do not need to study at night. You only need sleep that is calm enough. Sleep does not create new skills, but it decides which ones are kept. And the subconscious is remarkably intelligent in its selection. It preserves what is connected to bodily sensation, emotion, and lived experience, not what exists only on the surface of effort. If you feel less focused on the words now, if thoughts about what you're learning feel unimportant, if your body seems to drift in a steady rhythm, you are very close to the way the subconscious prefers to learn without being named. You do not need to become better tonight. No progress is required. No achievement is necessary. Tonight only needs to be safe enough for the subconscious to continue reinforcing what was planted during the day. And if something feels easier, lighter, or more natural when you wake, know that this is not coincidence. It is the result of a very quiet, very loyal process that unfolds when you allow yourself to rest. In the Jungian spirit, maturity is not mastering every action, but knowing when to hand work over to deeper layers. And sleep is the moment of full handover. From here, we will move into another face of the subconscious, distortions, fears, and protective mechanisms formed to keep you safe, sometimes too safe. But that is the story of the next part. For now, let the subconscious continue practicing in silence. No checking, no evaluation. And if sleep arrives, let it come as part of a very natural learning process, where you do nothing at all, and inside learning continues. Part 18. Distortions, fear, and overprotection. There are fears that arise without clear reason. No obvious danger, no specific cause. Yet the body tightens, the heart races, thoughts circle an invisible point. This is not weakness. It is the subconscious activating a protective mechanism, sometimes beyond what is necessary. The subconscious exists to protect life, and in that task it favors defense. It is not designed to optimize happiness, but to minimize risk. Faced with two possibilities, safe but missing out, or dangerous but detected early, the subconscious always chooses the latter. Better a false alarm than a missed threat. Obsessions and anxiety often begin this way. A past unpleasant experience leaves a trace. It need not be a major trauma, only strong enough for the nervous system at the time. The subconscious remembers the feeling of danger, not the story. And whenever a new situation resembles that old trace, the alarm system activates. Fast, automatic, without permission. This explains why many fears do not obey logic. Consciousness may say, "This is not dangerous." The subconscious replies, "I've seen this before." And because its task is protection, it does not need to be perfectly accurate. It only needs to be timely. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, what is pushed into the unconscious does not disappear. It continues to operate in the shadows, trying to protect the ego from repeating old pain. Jung called these mechanisms part of the shadow, not bad, not good, simply unintegrated. When unseen, they act on their own. False alarms are therefore not mistakes. They are consequences of a system that learned correctly in a different context. The problem arises when the context changes but the subconscious has not been updated. And the subconscious does not update through explanation. It updates through repeated safe experience. Not by forcing yourself to face fear once and be done. Not by telling yourself stop being afraid, but by many small, steady moments in which nothing bad happens. The subconscious learns, slowly but deeply. Each time you are in a situation that once triggered anxiety, and this time you leave safely, the alarm system receives new data. Not immediately, but gradually the threshold shifts. At night, when you are not facing the world, the subconscious can lower defensive intensity, not to abandon vigilance but to rest. When you lie still without demands to respond, the nervous system receives a vital message. There is no danger right now. And when that message is repeated over many nights, the alarm system softens. If you notice repetitive thoughts, if an old worry briefly appears and fades, if your body tightens slightly and then releases, this is not failure. It is the system testing and discovering that further activation is unnecessary. The subconscious does not need you to defeat fear. It needs you to remain long enough in safety to learn that high-level alarm is no longer required. And the most effective safety is not perfection but consistency. A steady rhythm, a slow voice, a space without demands. In the Jungian spirit, healing is not eliminating the shadow but bringing gentle light near it. Not exposing, not judging, simply letting the shadow know it no longer has to guard alone. Whether you sleep deeply or simply lie quietly tonight, the subconscious is learning. It learns that there are moments when defense is unnecessary. It learns that you can remain still and be safe. And this lesson, though quiet, is more powerful than any reassurance. From this foundation, we will move into beliefs, inner narratives, and the ego, where you will see that many ideas about who I am were written by early protective mechanisms. There is one thing the subconscious wants you to know, though it rarely speaks it aloud: fear does not appear to harm you. It appears because at some point fear helped you survive. The subconscious does not update with time. It keeps strategies that once worked, even when the world has changed. When worry repeats, the subconscious does not ask whether it is still true. It asks whether it was ever true. And if the answer is yes, the defense system continues like a loyal guard who was never told the shift had ended. False alarms are therefore signs not of dysfunction but of over-devotion. A system that learned the world could be unpredictable, that safety was not always obvious. And in unstable environments, the subconscious has even more reason to maintain vigilance. In Jung's view, excessive defenses are often linked to parts split off from consciousness, not because they are bad, but because they were not allowed to exist earlier in life. When fear is not heard, it learns to shout. When anxiety is denied, it finds another route, often through the body. Thus, what the subconscious needs is not persuasion that there is nothing to fear, but consistent lived safety. Safety does not come from one brave act, but from many small moments where nothing harmful occurs. You do not need to conquer fear. You only need to stay long enough for it to realize the alarm is no longer necessary. Night is the ideal environment for this retraining. Lying still, with no decisions, no reactions, no guarding the subconscious, is placed in a context entirely different from daytime. A context without immediate survival demands. And within it, defenses can gradually lower without feeling threatened. If an anxious thought arises and passes, if an old image flashes and dissolves, if the body tightens lightly and then releases, this does not mean you are not okay. It means the subconscious is testing a new level of safety. The subconscious learns through rhythm, a steady voice, an unhurried pace, a silence that is not frightening. Repeated night after night, these become living proof that some moments do not require defense. You do not need to make fear disappear. You only need to avoid feeding it. No judgment, no urgency, no pressure to be okay immediately. In the Jungian spirit healing is the process of bringing isolated parts back into relationship with the whole. When fear is no longer exiled, it no longer needs to scream for attention. It can settle not because it was defeated, but because it was acknowledged as something that once had a reason to exist. If tonight you simply lie and listen, if you do not sleep deeply but also are not tense, if you drift in a half-awake, half-dreaming state, the subconscious is still learning that some moments require no defense, learning that some nights need no vigilance. And when this lesson is repeated often enough, distortions adjust naturally, not through force, not through logic, but through safety that is truly lived. From here, we will move into how beliefs and inner stories are formed, where you will see that many ideas about who you are were written to protect you from old fear. But that is the story of the next part. For now, let the defense system rest a little longer. No dismantling required, just lowering the guard. And if sleep comes, let it arrive as a simple signal that, in this moment, you do not need to stand watch anymore. Part 19. Beliefs, stories, and the ego. There is a story you have been telling yourself for many years, so long that you no longer recognize it as a story. It is not something you consciously think about every day, yet it quietly lives inside every decision, every reaction, every way you look at the world. This story is not written in words. It is written in beliefs, implicit beliefs that the subconscious has distilled from lived experience. Beliefs do not need to be spoken aloud to hold power. In fact, the strongest beliefs are often the ones never clearly stated. I have to try hard to be loved. The world is not safe. I am not good enough. I must always be strong. These sentences rarely appear fully formed in your mind, yet the subconscious behaves as if they were unquestionable truths. From these beliefs, a story slowly forms. A story about who you are, what you should do, what you are allowed to expect. This story does not stand still. It adjusts itself, adds details, searches for evidence to confirm itself. If you believe you are always abandoned, the subconscious will notice abandonment more readily. If you believe you do not belong, the subconscious will interpret the world in ways that confirm that belief. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the ego is not the whole of who you are. It is the central story the subconscious uses to give continuity to lived experience. The ego helps answer the question, who am I? But at the same time, it limits other possibilities. Jung believed that much suffering comes not from circumstances themselves, but from identifying completely with the ego's story. Repeated language plays a crucial role in maintaining this story. Not because words are magical, but because repetition creates familiarity, and the subconscious trusts what is familiar. When you repeat something about yourself often enough, whether spoken aloud or silently, the subconscious records it as a stable description. From there, behavior choices and emotional reactions begin to orbit the script that has already been written. Yet there is something very gentle here. The subconscious does not write stories to imprison you. It writes them to help you predict the world. A story, even a limited one, is better than having none at all. The difficulty arises only when the story no longer reflects who you have become, but the subconscious has not yet received enough evidence to rewrite it. Rewriting does not mean erasing. The subconscious does not delete old chapters. It adds new ones. And new chapters are not written by denying the past, but by repeated different experiences. Moments when you do something you once believed impossible. Times when you are loved without trying. Moments when you rest without being punished. Each of these moments becomes a new sentence added to the story. At night, when consciousness quiets, the ego's story grows softer too. You no longer need to maintain an image. You do not need to perform a role. You do not need to explain who you are. And in that silence, the subconscious has a chance to review the script without being interrupted by the demand to keep acting. If right now you are listening without attaching yourself to the words, if you feel like a simple presence without definition, if the question, "Who am I?" no longer feels urgent, that is a sign that the ego is resting and the subconscious is breathing. You do not need to change your beliefs tonight. You do not need to rewrite your story. You do not need to discover your true self. Tonight only needs to be quiet enough for the old story not to repeat so loudly. When it softens, other possibilities find space to appear, not to replace it, but to exist alongside it. In the Jungian spirit, maturity is not having a perfect story about yourself, but realizing that you are not only that story. And sleep is the place where this realization comes most easily, because when you sleep, you still exist, even when you are not telling any story at all. From this foundation, we move toward the final part, letting go of consciousness and handing the watch back to the subconscious, where nothing more is required of you, because everything essential is already being tended to. There is something subtle about the stories the subconscious writes. They do not begin as stories. They begin as sensations. A vague feeling that you must stay guarded. A familiar sense that you must try harder than others. A quiet tension, suggesting that if you relax, something will go wrong. The subconscious does not explain these feelings. It weaves them into an undercurrent, and the ego builds the rest of the narrative on top. Over time, these undercurrents become the ground, and on that ground you build an image of yourself, not the image you want, but the one most compatible with your existing beliefs. If the deep belief is the world is unpredictable, the ego chooses the role of the controller. If the belief is I am vulnerable, the ego chooses the role of the defender. No role is wrong. They are simply roles that once helped you stand upright. In Jung's view, the problem is not the ego itself, but forgetting that the ego is a temporary structure. When you believe you are the story being told, anything that does not fit the story becomes a threat. And the subconscious, loyal to its task of protecting the ego, will try to keep the script intact, even through anxiety, tension, or self-limitation. Repeated language acts like a steady tapping on this story. It does not need to be loud. It only needs to last. I'm not suited for this. I'm always like this. I can't change. Each repetition is another confirmation recorded by the subconscious, not because it believes the words, but because it trusts consistency. What is consistent is often perceived as safe. But here is the gentle truth. The subconscious does not distinguish between the story you tell with words and the story you live through experience. One lived moment, even a small one, carries more weight than hundreds of inner statements. One time you rest without loss. One time you are accepted without playing a familiar role. One time you make a mistake and remain safe. These moments create soft cracks in the old story. At night, when consciousness is tired and the ego loosens control, those cracks have space to widen, not to destroy the story, but to allow other versions of you to exist alongside it. Versions that do not need to be right. Versions that do not need to be strong. Versions that simply exist. Sleep is therefore a very special state. When you sleep, the question, "Who am I?" no longer needs an answer. And strangely enough, you still exist fully. You breathe, you dream, you recover, without the ego supervising. without a story guiding you. When felt deeply enough, this can soften the tight grip on self-image. You do not need to erase old beliefs. You do not need to reject the story that brought you here. The subconscious does not ask you to betray the past. It only asks to be allowed to write more. If right now you feel no need to define yourself, if the phrases "I am this kind of person" fade, if you simply feel yourself here breathing, listening, existing, that is a sign the story is gently closing for tonight. In the Jungian spirit, individuation is not finding the correct ego but realizing you are wider than any story about yourself. And sleep is the safest space to realize this, because when you sleep, you do not need to prove anything at all. From here, we move to the final part, where there is nothing more to learn, nothing more to understand, nothing more to analyze. Only releasing consciousness and letting the subconscious continue its familiar watch. But that is the story of the next part. For now, let the story of me soften a little more. No need to erase it, no need to fix it. Simply stop telling it. And if sleep is coming, let it arrive as a gentle emptiness, with no script, no role, only presence at rest. Part 20. Conclusion. Letting go of consciousness. Handing over the watch. And now, as this journey comes close to resting, you may no longer feel that you are listening in order to understand. Perhaps you are simply here in a very quiet state. No need to follow. No need to remember. No need to connect every piece. And this is exactly how the subconscious works. We have moved through many deep layers of the mind. From the world beneath consciousness where everything operates silently. From decisions made before you realize you have chosen. From dreams, habits, memory, the body, society, belief. All of this not so that you might control more, but so that you may need to control less. If there is one thread running through this entire journey, it is this: you do not need to do anything. The subconscious was there long before you began thinking about it. It kept your heart beating when you were still a fetus. It learned how to protect you before you had language. It adjusted you through thousands of nights of sleep, even on nights you thought you did not sleep at all. And even now, as you hear these final words, the subconscious is still working without supervision, without help. In the spirit of Carl Gustav Jung, the deepest part of the human being does not need to be controlled but trusted. Jung did not advise people to force themselves into becoming someone else, but to learn how to listen and cooperate with what is already happening inside, not through effort but through permission. And tonight that permission is very simple. Allow consciousness to rest. Consciousness has worked all day. It analyzed, compared, predicted, protected. It tried to understand the world, tried to understand you. It is useful, but it is also tired. And it does not need to stand watch all night. The subconscious is different. It is familiar with darkness. It knows how to work in silence. It needs no light, no plan, no goal. It knows how to keep breathing steady. It knows how to calm the nervous system. It knows how to rearrange unfinished things without naming them. You do not need to sleep deeply for the subconscious to work. You do not need to fully relax. You do not need to reach any special state. You only need not to interfere. If thoughts come and go, that is fine. If vague images appear, that is fine too. If you fall asleep without knowing when, there is no need to know. The subconscious does not judge sleep by conscious standards. It only needs enough space to continue its natural process of balance. You do not need to carry any story into sleep. No role to maintain. No image to protect. In sleep, you still exist completely without doing anything at all. And this is a very gentle truth. Your value does not depend on constant alertness. If right now you feel a little heavier, if your eyelids close without effort, if your breath grows deeper, slower, let it happen. No need to monitor. No need to adjust. Simply allow the subconscious to take back the watch it has carried your entire life. And if tonight you dream, let the dream come without needing to understand it. If you do not dream, let the empty space do its quiet work. If you wake during the night, remember that the subconscious is still there, keeping watch patiently. This journey does not end here. It settles, like a wave withdrawing from shore, leaving the surface calmer. What needs to remain will remain. What is unnecessary will fall away on its own. And now, there is no need to listen further. No need to do anything more. Let consciousness rest. Let the subconscious work. And if sleep is coming, let it come softly, like a familiar reminder that tonight you are safe. Tonight you are allowed to rest. Tonight you do not need to be anyone at all. And perhaps this moment no longer requires any additional understanding. What needed to be understood has already passed. What needed to be touched has been touched deeply enough. There is no next part now, nothing to keep up with. Only your simple presence lying here, breathing evenly, allowing the night to do its work. Throughout this journey, you have heard of the subconscious as a silent yet steadfast world. A world that does not sleep. A world that existed long before you learned to think, before you knew how to name emotions, before you had a story about yourself. And perhaps, the gentlest thing you can do now is trust that this world is still functioning, even when you no longer pay attention to it. In Jung's spirit, the deepest layer of the mind does not need the light of consciousness to operate. It does not need to be illuminated or analyzed further. It only needs not to be obstructed, and sleep is the most natural state for that to happen. You do not need to let go completely. You do not need perfect stillness. You do not need an empty mind. Letting go here simply means not continuing to hold on. If a thought appears, let it drift by like a cloud without following it. If a feeling arises, let it be there without explanation. If you feel yourself sinking, allow gravity to do its work. Consciousness can rest without asking permission. It has done enough for today. Questions without answers can wait until morning, or may never need answers at all. The subconscious is not concerned with finishing everything. It knows that not everything must be complete in order to rest. Perhaps you are hearing clearly, perhaps only vaguely. Perhaps you are not sure whether you are listening or dreaming. All of this is fine. The subconscious does not measure effectiveness by attention. It works even if you fall asleep halfway through, even if you remember nothing in the morning, even if you think, "I didn't sleep very well." The subconscious does not judge the experience. It simply continues keeping life in rhythm. In this moment, you do not need to heal more. You do not need to improve. You do not need to fix yourself. You are already enough, even if you are tired, even if you are confused, even if you do not yet know where you are going. Your value does not increase when you are more awake. It does not decrease when you sleep. You are still you, even when no story is being told. If tonight you dream, let the dream come without remembering it. If tonight you do not dream, let the emptiness rebalance itself. If you wake during the night, remember nothing is wrong. The subconscious is still there, patient as always. There is no task waiting for you now, no demand to meet, no one needing you to stay awake a little longer. There is only night, and you, and a deep inner system keeping watch as it always has. If your eyelids are growing heavy, if your breath is slowing, if your body is no longer holding tension anywhere, let everything unfold in its own way. No need to force sleep, no need to force listening, only permission. And if sleep is coming, let it arrive like a wordless lullaby, where no effort is needed, no alertness required, no identity to maintain. The watch has been handed over. Consciousness may rest. The subconscious has taken its place. May you sleep deeply, peacefully, and safely. Good night.